Chapter 618, Demonic. Chapter 618, Demonic. I've wasted enough time on some old buzzards. I'd rather enjoy my spring around lovely ladies. Ha ha. Flicking his sleeve, the redhead sported his same old lustful smile. Now, who's the next pretty? Ha ha ha. The women were fuming mad. Their hearts and their throats the target of this sicko would lose her life, and her innocence the redhead's eyes slobbered all over Chu Chingching's refined casing. It's the first time I, Yin Mo, saw such a pure woman. I can't help myself and can't wait to enjoy it. Chu Chingcheng had only a cold glare for him, a special woman, indeed, to not feel fear. Yin Mo said. She shook her head. How can I when I know he'll save me? Ooh, that nobody. Just a second layer radiant stage, cultivator, trapped in a dream? Give it up, ha ha ha. Yin Mo laughed. Chu Chingcheng had the same smile on her lips. You don't know him like I do. He never goes back on his word. Watching her pure smile from the heart mesmerized all present. Not even women could escape her charm. Xian Xiaoyu's heart stirred. Who is she talking about? Yin Mo licked her lips. Angel face, you're really amazing. I just can't wait to have you. No, I won't turn you into a husk like those other nobodies. I will have you forever at my side. How dare you sully Junior Sister Qingsheng with your mouth? Pa! Yin Mo smacked Xian Xiaoyu in his place and into the wall. He crashed to the floor, bleeding from the mouth. Young master. The women cried. Yin Mo sneered. Kid, I let you in on the fun, and now you grow an attitude to look at my woman? You can have anyone here, except her. You just don't cut it. Xian Xiaoyu glared back. Yin Mo ignored him and turned to Chu Chingcheng with the same sickening smile. Darling, I won't force you. Though I bet you'll be begging me soon for it. Hi, hi, hi. Yin Mo's finger had a tongue of flame hovering on the tip, with cyan and scarlet intertwining within. The women shuddered as their bodies warmed up and their eyes softened. Elder Yun shut his eyes. Meditate on your inner peace. Don't let the flame control you. That's the rarest demonic flame, yin-yang union flame. It can control yin and yang, harmonize Tao, and instill desire in one's heart. He used this flame on young master to make him become demonic. The others shuddered and closed their eyes, though the pained expressions and the heavy sweat told a different story. Yin Mo cackled at Chu Chingcheng. Darling, see that? They're so far, yet can't help themselves. Yet you are right in front of the flame. Your heart must be overwhelmed. Soon you will turn from a virtuous woman into a nympho. That's our cue for a night of good time in perfect bliss. Ha ha. A shame that's not going to happen. Chu Chingcheng mocked him, sitting just as calm as before. Yin Mo took back the flame and cried, Why you have the empty spirit body? Chu Chingcheng gave him a cold smile. The empty spirit body is said to be rarer than once 100,000 years. It can take all energies and null them. It is the best cauldron on earth. It can help others in practicing the most difficult dual cultivation arts by adjusting the yin and yang, a godlike dual Tao companion. Yin Mo's heart shook, then cackled. I struck gold. I was only looking for a bit of fun and found the motherlode. I'll dual cultivate with you my entire life. You will help me improve my control of yin-yang union flame to new heights, and I can then fight Wu Qingxiu. Yin Mo threw himself at her. Chu Chingcheng cried, Damn vile swine, didn't you say you won't force me? Times changed. I wanted your heart before, but now I only want your body. Yin Mo's mouth split into a nasty grin. Mystical heaven sex people were powerless to help. Only watching in anger. Chu Chingcheng was worried as well. What the hell is taking that bastard Zhua fan so long? Whoosh! A sharp red glow shot for the deranged Yin Mo, pouncing on Chu Chingcheng's exquisite forms like a guillotine, throwing him into the wall. Yin Mo's chest hurt, looking at Chu Chingcheng in shock. Such a strong soul. It hurt my own, but I clearly sealed all your power. How did you muster so much strength still? Sorry, that was me. You got to give credit to who it's due. An easy voice came from behind. Yin Mo jumped around to face Zhua Fan 100 meters away. He bore a smile of naked contempt and endless hatred. Zhua Fan. Steward Zhua, brother Zhua, took you long enough. All of them were overjoyed. Shui Rehua and mystical heaven sex disciples were happy as well. A ray of hope shone down on them. Our Lord Savior is here. Only the elder and Xian Xiaoyu looked on in doubt. Who's he supposed to be? Why do they take him as their savior? Then they saw Chu Qingqing's eyes filled with love. Xian Xiaoyu gnashed his teeth. So it's him. A flick of his finger called back the red glow from Chu Qingqing, and Blood Infant was back in his home. Ha! Letting Blood Infant and Qingqing and using her as bait paid off. Oh, did our lovey-dovey scene get on your nerves? Zhuo Fan mocked. Yin Mo squinted. You did it just to spite me and force me into separating you, so you could use your demonic creature in order to find me out and save them. As everyone I bring has their cultivation sealed. Ha ha ha, we got a winner. We knew ages ago you liked to mess around, so we laid a trap for you in the form of a play. I figured you don't like killing much, but instead toying with others, especially with lovers, and then killing them. Great minds think alike, I see. No wonder you're a demonic cultivator. Yin Mo smiled. How did you know I'll take the bait? Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes. Are you stupid or blind? A glance at Qingqing and all will be made clear. That lovely and beautiful complexion. Who can resist it? Every man on this God's green earth would blow a gasket seeing us. It goes double to a playful imp like you. Chu Qingqing blushed and rolled her eyes. Yet her heart was all warm and fuzzy. Yin Mo gnashed his teeth. Ha ha! Nicely done. You're among the rare few that got me. I admit it. Though one more thing I don't understand. How did you escape the array? Setting a 7th grade array's nothing to it, and using sacred stones on it is the same. Zhuo Fan showed a stone practically oozing spiritual energy. Fiddling with it and throwing it around. I can even set 10th grade arrays. As for sacred stones, let's just say you're not the only money bag. What's so hard on using an array on array? Pop! It was the sound of eyeballs falling on the ground. The audience watched the sacred stone in Zhuo Fan's hand with stupefaction, especially the demon-scheming sex group. They all knew Zhuo Fan was loaded, but this was ridiculous even for him. Now here, he was flaunting the stuff on their way to Double Dragon Gathering to fight for it. Talk about cruel irony. Chapter 619, Demon vs. Imp. Chapter 619, Demon vs. Imp. Yin Mo showed a creepy grin. How marvelous. There's actually a demonic cultivator from the lower 3 sects with a good head on his shoulders. Foiled at every turn, my game in shambles, and even expert in arrays. You'd be a rarity even in the superior 3 sects. Then again, Yin Mo mocked. You can have all the brains in the world, the sharpest wit, the cleverest ploys, yet none will help you without the strength to back them all up. The best you could do with your puny cultivation is running away. Yet you came for me? Your demonic creature might be somewhat special, even against an ethereal stage expert, but it's nothing to me. You came here to die, moron. Mystical Heaven Sex Gang's heart was in their throat in worry for Zhuo Fan. He held their last and only hope of getting out of here alive. Now no one would get the word out of their sufferings. The 3 elders sized the new guy up with a sigh. His 2nd layer radiant stage, cultivator won't stand a chance. He came to get killed. Funny how the only ones chilling were demon scheming sex side. Even sporting a cold smile, none actually got to see the full extent of Steward Zhuo's mighty power coming to bear. Even killing Grand Elder's lackeys, he still held back. Oh, there was one other person who had blind trust in the man, Chu Qingqing, despite not knowing anything about him in the past few years, huh? Oh, right, you never saw my real strength, so you thought you could take me, reckless fool. Yin Mo cackled. Feast your eyes on real power. Yin Mo's energy exploded like a flood. The ghastly aura sent shivers into the rest, even the venerables. A 5th layer, ethereal stage expert. The fiends and elders paled. The first were overwhelmed. Someone so young could be so strong. The latter were depressed, finding he was no average cultivator at all to be coming from a superior 3 sect. Elder Yun of the same cultivation would bet anything he wouldn't stand 10 blows on Yin Mo's back. 2 flames appeared, red and blue, turning into pythons that bit each other's tails as they spun around and released a strange vibe. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed azure. Oh, a demonic flame. Yin-yang union flame. So that's your crutch to all the arrogance. You can withstand its effect. Phased. Yin Mo frowned and worry instinct told him this second layer radiant stage cultivator's unnatural calmness hid something far worse. It also baffled him how he could feel like that from an ant, like how a lion met a viper. Despite how clear the difference was, the first was on guard since the latter's venom could spell doom to perplexity. He found himself and left Yin Mo's heart quivering. I refuse to believe a radiant stage cultivator can threaten me. It's preposterous. Yin Mo took a deep breath to steel himself and roared, "Punk, it's too late for regrets now that you've seen such might. Haha. Showing all your cards before a fight is the dumbest thing in the world. Man, you're naive. As a senior demonic cultivator, it is only decent of me to teach the younglings and steer them on the right demonic path." Zhuo Fan mocked. Yin Mo was fuming mad. "You dare patronize me when you're the junior?" Yin Mo shot a savage fire attack like a meteor shower, straight for him Elder Yun's side. This attack contains his soul. No radiant stage cultivator can withstand it. The kid is doomed. The women panicked. Even as Fiend Yang's side laid back to enjoy the show bam. The fires scattered to nothing, revealing Zhuo Fan's light brushing and evil smile. How could this be? Yin Mo was on the verge of a meltdown. Elder Yun gasped in disbelief, while the women froze in abject shock. Since when could a radiant stage cultivator take an ethereal stage expert's blow and live? Who the hell is this guy? Even Danner was slack-jawed at the sheer absurdity of it all. Ha ha ha. Underestimating an enemy before battle is the worst fault a demonic cultivator can have. Did I mention you're naive? Making sure to point out with a wide grin, Zhuo Fan mocked Yin Mo. Yin Mo's brow shook, his teeth clenched. That was just a casual strike. Whoosh! Zhuo Fan flashed in Yin Mo's face as his right eye flashed golden once how when Yin Mo's heart was beating out of his chest, having not caught the slightest sign of how Zhuo Fan did it. Zhuo Fan made sure to stop any thoughts of elucidating as his punch came down hard and fast, right for the noggin bam. Yin Mo put his hand up in reflex and felt a pain like no other searing deep in his bone. Even as it still came for his forehead left with little choice, he put his other arm up. Much good did that do, still incapable of stopping this unrelenting force. This guy's body is a freak of nature. With no time to make use of his soul power, his body flashed with spiritual armor. Zhuo Fan's mere flick of the Qilin arm sent Yin Mo bouncing through the air and smack into the cave wall. The cave now sported an extra breathing hole as the wall crumbled. 100 meters deep, through which the bright rays of the sun graced this eerie hellhole, not that the others had a mind to even register the implication, to out of it to even twitch. A singular strike sent an ethereal stage expert careening through the air. Who the hell is this freak? Not even the superior 3 sects have someone like this. The elders were stumped. This is the disciple the demon scheming sect is taking to Double Dragon Gathering? This is too friggin' much. How are we supposed to beat that? Underestimating your enemy, yet still making up excuses for yourself. If that's not naive, I don't know what is. Flicking his right, Zhuo Fan smiled. Fiend Yang, just like we guessed, this guy's spoiled rotten, having always gotten his way. Just your average rotten, albeit talented, apple. As the true devil here, you should let the imp know what setback means. Hi, hi, hi. Fiend Yang snickered. Hi, hi. The demon scheming sect's disciples laughed along the bang, cut their joy short though, as the rubble turned to ashes and revealed Yin Mo covered in a flaming armor glaring at Zhuo Fan. He lost his mocking air, replaced by hatred. Zhuo Fan smiled. He's finally showing what he has. This should be fun. Chapter 620, Wrestling. Chapter 620, Wrestling. Whoosh. Yin Mo jumped right at Zhuo Fan without preamble, packing a fiery fist just for his face. The immense power behind it and the burning sensation left Zhuo Fan understanding just how deadly Yin-Yang Union Flame was. So he blocked with his Qilin arm. While the fire punch was halted, Zhuo Fan staggered 10 feet. Yin Mo's fiery fist took on another layer of flames, this time blue. The two flames combined, and the power multiplied caught off guard. It was now Zhuofan's time to barrel through the air and splatter against the back cave wall, creating another 100-meter deep hole. The added rays brought more light into this now somewhat lit cavern, and Mo watched the burning rubble with a cold eye. "What was it you said, naive?" The eyes of everyone twitched. Yin Mo was like a stranger, calculative and fierce. Without any openings, this is Hellion Flame's first genius. Yin Mo. Elder Yun sighed in disappointment. He barely used a third of his power when he was playing around, but now he will hold nothing back in displaying his fifth-layer ethereal stage cultivation. There's no way that guy can take him on, no matter how much of a freak he is. "We're done for," the women cried, mirroring Elder Yun's despair. Their hopes of keeping themselves intact were crushed with the fall of the rubble. Danner watched the expanding fire. Of the two demons, Zhuofan is a bit better. "I hope he wins." The rest all hoped the same, despite the sheer discrepancy. They sighed at Yin Mo's unnatural change, their faith in Zhuofan hitting rock bottom. Only the demon-scheming sect side kept a straight face. They were living testament to Zhuofan's power and savagery. Rumble. Zhuofan crawled out of the burning rubble, shaking his numb hand with a smile. Yin-Yang Union Flame, fusing Yin and Yang, resulting in explosive power. My Qilin arm almost couldn't take it. Young and childish, but he has some mentality. He flipped the switch to having a fight to the death and lost his tantrums on the spot. He is from a superior 3 sect for a reason. Guess I get serious myself. I won't live down being defeated by the same thing I preached. The shame would kill me, and he is far stronger than those trash elders too. Zhuofan squinted, and an eerie aura surrounded him. Yin Mo's heart tensed, ready for anything. Despite the gap in cultivation, the feeling he got from him was nothing like any other fight he had. It was dangerous. "I now consider you my equal, just like Wu Qingxiu." Yin Mo spoke whoosh. Zhuofan flashed in front of him and used his Qilin arm to claw his chest wraith style. Second move, Ghostly Dragon Claw. Roar. The draconic roar split ears, and the flames on the armor were flickering before the strike even came. Yin Mo was startled. Not even an 8th-grade demonic treasure can take his raw strength. Just what treasures does he have? He chose to trust his intuition still, no matter what doubts he had. Putting all his trust in the armor on the off chance that the kid would break, it would mean certain death. Yin Mo jumped back while throwing red and blue flames. They combined with a bang and clashed with a claw boom. Zhuofan got swallowed by the towering flames. Yin Mo grinned, though unable to laugh as the claw ran the fire through and came right at him. He reacted on the spot by taking out 2 halberds clang. The screeching sound jarred his ears as he was barely holding his own from the eerie burning claw. Next thing he knew, he saw the towering flames dissipate, revealing a grinning Zhuofan. Yin Mo's only logical reaction: freak. He then jumped 100 meters back to put some distance between them. High profound ranked martial art, Twin Dragon Devour. Red and blue flash from the halberd as they combined into 2 Yin-Yang Union Flame-made flood dragons, charging for Zhuofan. The same ranked martial art which showed different effects depending on cultivation, and with Yin Mo's ethereal stage level, the attack was backed by his soul power. However, there was no reason for Zhuofan with his Heaven Dragon soul to be scared. Devouring Dragon? As if. Zhuofan scoffed, his body releasing black energy and turning into a dragon. Wraith Style's first move, Soaring Demonic Dragon. Roar. Zhuofan's body clashed with the 2 flood dragons, resulting in a spectacular explosion. Zhuofan pressed the advantage, going at Yin Mo. Yin Mo shook, finding it hard to believe Zhuofan was so tough no attack could harm him. He had no time to even make a sign as Zhuofan pushed him back, using only his halberds to block the resounding blows. The cave flashed black and red all over as the 2 sources shifted throughout the cavern. Yin Mo relied on his Yin-Yang Union Flame, while Zhuofan used raw power as the 2 wrestled for supremacy, using arts or even plain blows as the spectacle was ongoing. The spectators' minds were blown. How is the kid on the same foot as Yin Mo. Actually, he's on the advantage, coming to bear on Yin Mo. Elder Yin shook, his eyes wide as dinner plates, foreseeing something incomprehensible despite having lived so long while the women's hopes were rekindled. As for the demon's scheming sex gang, they treat it as natural, even mocking the rest's ignorance. Quit your oohing. This is nothing. Say what? Elder Yin turned to them. Fiend Yang cackled in pride. Disciple leader Zhuofan is always modest and withdrawn. This is nothing. You ought to be praising Yin Mo for lasting so long. Guess he isn't just another gutter rat. Elder Yin was perplexed and snorted. Don't get carried away. The kid may be somewhat great, but he's just in the radiant stage. I don't know how he can block the soul attacks, but he can't keep this up. Ha ha. The women were even more perplexed. Elder Yun, Zhuofan is fighting for us. If he loses, we die. Shui Ruohua pointed out like a good disciple ugh. Elder Yin flushed. He always looked down on the demon-scheming sect, bickering at every chance he got. A shame his mouth got the better of him this time, when both sides were in dire straits. And picking faults with the demon-scheming sect now was the same as picking faults with himself, when he ought to cheer the kid on crack. Meanwhile, the jarring noises stopped, and the rest cried at the scene. Chapter 621, Soul Domain. Chapter 621, Soul Domain. Bam! With chips flying every which way. Yin Mo washed his hands, holding a halberd, and a stick across from him was Zhuofan's red, glowing right, and a ridiculing smile. For God's sake, what is that bloody body made of to shatter a high-rated demonic treasure? Zhuofan's belligerent display of unbridled power had left everyone in awe. Even ethereal stage body cultivators could pull off what he did. My ninth-grade demonic treasure, my twin halberds. Yin Mo's morning got cut short as he heard whistling. Zhuofan's savage claw was relentless, scaring him into throwing the other halberd at it after a clank. Yin Mo put much-needed distance between them, for his safety and his nerves, so that's why my armor shook before. It was warning me that this freak's freaky arm is ridiculous. What kind of body can even smash ninth-grade demonic treasures? Letting the claw land on my body will run me through armor and all. Zhuofan was coming again. His only way of flipping the tables was by using such a move that overcame the body, a soul attack. Not like Zhuofan would let him go through the motions of unleashing an art of such magnitude with how close he stuck. That leaves only one choice. Yin Mo chuckled. Sigh, as the best talent in Hellion Flame, I'm now reduced to using cheap tricks. It's all his fault for being so much of a weirdo. Yin Mo turned his back and flew down, his halberd aiming straight. For Chu Qingcheng, all were by themselves with worry. Qingcheng. Chu Qingcheng couldn't move for her life. She, however, had no fear, judging by that smile directed at the pursuing Zhuofan hot on his tail. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage shift. His right eye flashed golden and bam-fed right in front of her clang. Zhuofan flicked the halberd away and watched the ever-smug Yin Mo with a cold eye. Hi. I just knew it. You care about her. I bet the show you put on in the inn was more real than fake. Yin Mo snickered. Zhuofan said, as if, this is between me and you, not a fight for another to interfere. And I came here to save them. Where's all my respect go if I just let you harm them? Is that so? Yin Mo gave a taunting smile and gave his weapon a flick sideways. The wind blade struck home, and a mystical heaven sect's disciple wailed as he burned to ashes. Yin Mo mocked. You call this helping? Zhuofan's face was cold as ice. Hi. The more you explain, the deeper you bury yourself. Do you think I can't tell you care about this one? When I threw myself at her, you could have bid your time and used the demonic creature to kill me in one strike. So why then did you choose to miss it? And don't tell me a mastermind like you would make such an elementary mistake. Have some self-respect. Yin Mo grinned. Zhuofan found silence to be golden. Chu Qingcheng's eyes looked upon him with the sweetest gaze she could muster and a bright smile whoosh. The halberd swung, targeting Chu Qingcheng behind Zhuofan, who squinted as he acted. It only worked to prove Yin Mo's theory. Ha, she's your weakness for sure. Now you're done for, as you've committed the greatest sin for a demonic cultivator, love. While I like her, there's no way I'd let her drag me down. Whoosh. All his attacks targeted Chu Qingcheng and Zhuo Fan blocked some. While others struck him, Chu Qingcheng saw the dozens of wounds on him with pain. Though she knew from his firm eyes that any urge to leave her would go unanswered, nothing could change Zhuo Fan's mind. Mo snickered in childish glee. Using her to strike at him, it was now Zhuo Fan's turn to be pressed. The women were touched to the core. What a man! Even a demon, he still remains to protect her with his life. How many righteous Tao companions are there who would do the same? Even the feisty Danner looked at him with different eyes. The fiends were panicking and cursing. Screw the broad and get your head back in the game by killing that prick. Free us, damn it. Zhuo Fan knew this was bad, and his right flashed red. A relentless force came at Yin and Mo, who sidestepped. Zhuo Fan used this chance to grab Chu Qingcheng's waist and fly away to a safer place. Yin and Mo wasn't going to sit by and let it happen. He came at him again, while Zhuo Fan deflected the best he could. Yin and Mo hid feints and strikes among his moves, so that a third would go for Zhuo Fan and the rest for Chu Qingcheng, yet he blocked every one of them. The rest watched in worry and shock. Zhuo Fan was holding his own in a fight while having someone in his arms. He wasn't backing down one bit. Mystical heaven sex elders admired him. Even more so, as Chu Qingcheng never had a scratch on her. Yin and Mo was pissed, though. He was using a woman to put Zhuo Fan into a corner, but the guy just wouldn't fall. Zhuo Fan could fight him despite all the chains around his neck. It went as far as making him look bad. That's the same as saying I'm useless. Sure, all demonic cultivators were devious and despicable. While the shame of losing was one thing, losing even as you tricked your opponent was even worse. The fact he was some big-shot talent only amplified the shame. Blast it all to hell. I was saving it for Wu Qingxiu, not this bastard. You're really getting on my nerves here. Yin and Mo fell back, and Zhuo Fan did the same, placing Chu Qingcheng behind a barrier just as two flames came at him. Zhuo Fan dodged one and met the other with his ghostly dragon claw as the light show died down. Yin and Mo was found floating above, with the blue and red snakes biting their tails and spinning behind him. Feeding on each other, the cave itself turned blue and red, growing hotter and hotter. Soul domain. The fiends and the elders jerked. They figured Yin and Mo was using yin-yang union flame and thus had a fire soul, or the snake's circle behind was his soul, when in fact it was the worst move to take on, a soul domain. Just like Impermanence 5's vicissitude domain. In this domain, one was God. Anyone caught within its range was at the whims of the user. Zhuo Fan's frown deepened at last. Even with the Heaven Dragon soul, he was fighting it out with an expert in the 5th layer ethereal stage. He had never tackled the domain to know if he'd come out on top, and to make it worse, Zhuo Fan glanced at Chu Qingcheng. He wanted her safe, which became moot the instant the domain was activated. His worry for her mounting. Chapter 622, Heaven Dragon Soul's Might. Chapter 622, Heaven Dragon Soul's Might. Ha ha ha, didn't see this one coming, did you? My soul is the strongest soul domain. An ethereal stage expert's true power comes to bear only when his soul is revealed, and that is the soul domain. Yin and Mo cackled with unrestrained pride. Everyone's lives are at my whims. You'll never keep her safe and fight me alone ever. You have no chance of winning. This is the difference between our stages. This is a gulf you can never surpass, no matter how freaky you are. Zhuo Fan squinted, looking deep into Chu Qingcheng's eyes. As she did the same, all the captives here gave in to despair. Fiend Yang even shouted, "Can you leave with your soul?" Zhuo Fan's calm made Fiend Yang even more crestfallen. For even the cocky Zhuo Fan to be lost for words, it only showed how doomed we are. The others sighed in their sorrowful fate. It only fueled Yin Mo's ecstatic joy. The punk has no way of getting out. Yin Mo snickered, finding it his turn to mess with his opponent, making a sign. Yin Mo taunted Zhuo Fan with a look, yet Zhuo Fan only had eyes for Chu Qingcheng. Hi. That woman will be the death of you. You could have been attacked and stopped for making signs, but now, Yin Mo snickered, time to taste a pseudo-earth-ranked martial art. Yin Yang Inferno. Fan held Chu Qingsheng close as the ground exploded from under them, with blue and red interwoven flames, swallowing Fan in its torrent as rumbling explosions sounded off Steward Zhua. Sister Qingsheng. Everyone cried out, powerless to do anything. The two colored fires were like a forge, chipping at their target. All were wallowing in despair. Their fate might be the same. Yin Mo was having a blast. Haha, idiot. Think I meet you head on? This is my world, and I can strike you from anywhere. Feel honored to be the first to die in this move. I save for the best talent in Western lands. Wu Qingxiu. Guess thanks are in order for such fine treatment, no? Yin Mo watched incredulously. The other's eyes lit up. That steward's voice. The inferno dispersed, and Fan, holding Chu Qingsheng, stood there like nothing happened, with a grin on his face and 4 golden halos in his right eye. 100 meters around him, the space rippled and hummed, annihilating anything and everything, even Fire Divine Eye of the Void's 4th stage, Space Crusher. Yin Mo twitched in disbelief. Impossible. There's no such thing. While you have a soul domain, I have my own absolute domain as well, of 100 meters. Nothing can touch me here. Ha ha ha. Fan mocked. Yin Mo gnashed his teeth in rage at the unexpected plot twist. He never heard of such a domain. The captive audience swung back from the pits of despair into the warm arms of jubilation. They were saved. Fan jerked and found Chu Qingsheng, furrowing her brows in pain. Fan saw her ankle bruised. The flames came out of nowhere, and Chu Qingsheng had to suffer for his late reaction. Fan's bloodlust surged. No parlor tricks will save you from my domain. How will you fight me with a dead weight on your back? I'll kill you even if I have to exhaust you for a dash. Crash. While Yin Mo was either showing himself off or giving Fan credit was anyone's guess, Fan Princess carried Chu Qingsheng. Yin Mo blanked. Isn't it harder to fight me without his hands? While Chu Qingsheng flushed, Fan snickered, his eyes taking a crazed look, seething with undying flames of wrath. You're wrong about something. While there's heaven and earth between us from the gap in stages, who's the heaven and who's the earth is far from clear. I can take your life any time I want. The only reason you're still kicking is because you have all the advantages. As Fan walked with Chu Qingsheng in his arms, the Space Crusher moved with him. The flames parted ways, making way for the king on his mission. I didn't attack you in the inn so that I can find the captives. While in your array, moving was also complicated. And finally, there are too many people around to act as I want. Up till now, I was doing Hellion Flame a favor by sparing you, wishing to avoid a feud. And with so many around us, it was easy to implicate others. But now you've crossed the line. So you've been holding out on me? Yin Mo mocked. The way he saw it, Fan was bluffing all the way. Who the hell is he kidding, barely defending while protecting a woman? He never believed it. Fan shook his head. It's not holding back, but making it into a death match. I had no intent to kill you, until now. What's the difference? Yin Mo mocked. Fan's nasty grin resurfaced. I can waste you without lifting a finger. The prismatic dragon in his mind opened its eyes and roared. Fan's power surged, releasing an undeniable draconic power upon the world. Everyone there gasped, with the ethereal stage experts sensing their very souls trembling, while Yin Mo's soul domain shuddered and threatened to collapse. This can't be. It was the unanimous reaction. Never had there been a situation for any of them in which their souls would bore such pressure. This radiant stage kid formed his soul. How'd he do it to be so frightening? Fan, with a stone-cold face, shot for Yin Mo while holding Chu Qingsheng. Still, Yin Mo was outraged. You dare mock me? With a sign, the snakes behind him spun faster, blending the yin and yang fires that sent at Fan like a tidal wave, pseudo-earth-ranked martial art. Bipolar conflagration. Fan squinted as he charged on, his hands making a sign despite holding Chu Qingsheng. Wraithstyle's third move, Heaven Dragon Soul, Necro Dragon Screech. Fan's surroundings exploded in a prismatic light, accompanied by a roar. The sound slammed into the firestorm, scattering it, before coming down on Momo. Couldn't believe his soul was so strong that even his martial arts collapsed. He rushed out of the way, just as the sound wave brushed him. It slammed into the wall and threw it towards the sky. This was also the moment the soul domain fell. Yin Mo shook like a leaf. He really wants to kill me. He wouldn't have gone this far if he knew Zhuo Fan was before him now. Despite that great skill he used just now, it didn't stop his assault one iota. Zhuo Fan was a beast intent on tearing him apart. Chapter 623 Rescue. Chapter 623 Rescue. Yin Mo's eyes tightened on Zhuo Fan's ever-nearing form. While his hands were busy holding a beauty, the threat wasn't any less as Zhuo Fan's furious retaliation was still fresh in his mind, a freak among freaks, even with his hands tied. He's right. We really are world apart. This grand talent in Hellion Flame, for the first time ever, admitted he was beneath someone, something he could never do before the best genius in Western lands, Wu Qingxiu. But against this storm of rage before him, he felt like a bug. There was only one thought that took over his mind: escape. The farther the better. Yinmo turned his eyes on Chu Qingqing. His only weakness. His eyes flashed and pulled a dirk, throwing it at Chu Qingqing while he made a run for it, figuring Zhuo Fan had to use his limbs to save her, buying him enough time. Zhuo Fan's anger soared, his right eye shining golden. Divine Eye of the Void, second stage. Void annihilation. Whoosh! Clank! Something shot from him to the dagger and went on for Yin Mo. The danger woke Yin Mo up from his delusion, shifting to the sight by instinct. The attack brushed his skin, taking it away and making him grimace. Zhuo Fan didn't let him enjoy the pain, still hugging Chu Qingqing and still coming at him. A prismatic, draconic tail up and sprouted from his back, sweeping at Yin Mo. What the hell is his soul form? Why so big? Yin Mo felt like swearing. Zhuo Fan was so enraged, he wouldn't give Yin Mo a moment to catch his breath. He wouldn't have picked on the broads if he knew there was such a crazed beast among them. Yin Mo felt like crying, with no choice but to use the two snakes to block the incoming tail. The yin and yang flames united and formed a shield bam. The huge draconic tail slammed into the flaming snakes, erasing them from this world. Next came the howls. These two snakes didn't even last a second, and the tail smashed into its intended target. Yin Mo, the splitting headache resulted from his injured soul. Spitting blood. Zhuo Fan was only getting started. Flicking around, the tail scraped the cave wall before it came for Yin Mo, buried in the wall. He howled in pain as the tail left him in tatters with another swish of the tail. The cave top blew away 10 miles, mountain and all, before coming down, crumbling. The hot sun above spilled its glorious warmth on the frozen faces of every captive. He can blow up mountains if angry enough. They all witnessed how a deep mountain cave turned into a valley with the slightest gesture, but the savagery on Zhuo Fan's face, hovering there above them, left them gulping. He's worse than Yin Mo. How is he from a lower 3 sect when he's as strong as Double Dragon Manor? All saw Zhuo Fan as nothing more than a godly beast sent from the heavens above, demon scheming sect included. Is this his true power? This is no longer abnormal, but godlike. Zhuo Fan had no mind to care about extras, still as cold, as furious, and as determined. He put the tail away and landed gently before letting Chu Qingqing down. Then the azure flame circled her head 3 times, and Chu Qingqing found she could move. She gave him the sweetest smile. Finding him the same man, no matter how atrocious he was, the kid seal was complicated and needed time to deal with it. No wonder he's from a superior 3 sect. At Chu Qingqing's soft gaze, his chilly face deflated. Though awkward, Chu Qingqing nodded, smiling. True. Then she changed topics. The others are sealed as well. We should help them. She rushed forward only to wince at the next step. Forgetting about her injured ankle, Zhuo Fan helped her down, holding her soft calf in his hand. As a sizzling azure glow healed her wound, Zhuo Fan used the Heaven Dragon Soul again. Since it was made of 10 Earth Dragon Souls, the power of the returning dragon's roar was within it. You should look after yourself before thinking of rescuing others. Fan looked down as his hand held the dainty foot, and the azure glow healed it. Chu Ching Chung was very happy inside, nodding. I know. I won't make you worry again. That's not it. I was just... You don't have to say anything. I understand. We each have our paths that sometimes bump into each other. Chu Ching Chung smiled. Fan kept healing her with utmost care. Yet for some odd reason, he took his time doing it. The shocked masses around the lovely couple were now speechless about how the duo sank into their own little world. Rolling his eyes, Fiend Yang snapped. It's just a flesh wound. A pill will do. While we got our cultivation sealed, and can't even more. You should be helping us first. Yeah, master, if we can't move soon, we might never get the chance again. Kuei Gang laughed. The rest laughed with him. Even mystical heaven sect girls, even those with a bad disposition for demonic cultivators, found Zhuo Fan in high regard. All because of his devotion to Chu Qingsheng in keeping her safe from any harm. He was the living wet dream of every girl. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Awkward, and Chu Qingsheng giggled. Only Xian Xiaoyu gnashed his teeth at the lovey-dovey couple. I'm fine. With her delicate foot safely down, Zhuo Fan smiled and went to unseal Fiend Yang and company. Stretching about, they had odd smiles for Zhuo Fan. Next came mystical heaven sect's turn, who was just as grateful. Shui Ruohua's opinion of him soared. While the elders looked at him like he sprouted a new head, the thanks never came. Not when they dreaded the double dragon gathering, where they'd be meeting this same monster on stage. They even thought of getting rid of him once, and for all, though, they didn't act on it, recalling his savage fight with Yin Mo. Who are we kidding? They couldn't beat Yin Mo, yet wanted to take on a monster far worse than their kidnapper. Elder Yin jumped. What of Yin Mo? I reckon he should be in the rubble 10 miles out. The attack of mine must have sent him there with the mountain and everything. Zhuo Fan blurted. He acts like it was nothing. Elder Yin ordered. Someone get Yin Mo back here. If he gets away, he'll give us revenge we can't handle. Yes. Shui Ruohua gave a deep bow and took some disciples to the ruble. 6 hours later, they came in a panic. Elder, there's no sign of him. What? Elder Yun's countenance changed for the worse. Chapter 624, On the Road Together. Chapter 624, On the Road Together. You only care about girls, and now look. We are here stuck with our sealed cultivation while you play the hero, not caring what happens to us. How are we supposed to trust you? The fiends glared at Zhuo Fan. While the rest opted for silence, Zhuo Fan rolled his shoulders. Why are you complaining when I just saved you? Fiend Yang snickered. You think that settles it? You brought this mess upon us. Now we are filled with fear. These youths will be so scared they can't even sleep. Shouldn't you do something about it? Please, as elders coming to Double Dragon Gathering, you're no scared children. You're just trying to extort me. You think I'm going to fall for it? Zhuo Fan mocked. The trio jerked, yet saw Zhuo Fan wasn't pushing it, and signaled Fiend Yang to continue. Kid, a leader does not cheat his fellow disciples, does not draw trouble. Bah, when did I draw trouble? What do you think Yin Mo was? Fiend Yang shouted. This was mystical heaven sect's problem, not ours. Yet for some broad, what makes you so sure it was unrelated? Zhuo Fan cut him off with a heavy expression. Hellion Flame is joining the Double Dragon Gathering, no? Don't you know about knowing your enemy in yourself? Using this matter to find more about our enemies couldn't be better. But they're a superior 3 sect. All the more reason. Zhuo Fan spoke from his moral high ground. Don't tell me you knew everything about their disciples when you fought with them, about their cultivation methods, skills, and whatnot. If so, why the hell did I have to fish for info? You should feel ashamed for neglecting your disciples instead of preaching reason with me. The trio was speechless. The hell? How is it our fault? Scratching their beards, the trio's mind was mushed by Zhuo Fan's twisted logic. Fiend Yang yelled, Hold on, they're the superior 3 sects and have nothing to do with us. Why should we scout them out? We should be focusing on the middle 3 sects instead, to target the weakest and take its place. How narrow-minded. You're content with just being a middle 3 sect? Zhuo Fan snorted. The trio was stunned. Why, you mean? When I do something, I do it all the way. Zhua Fan was filled with pride and arrogance. I will challenge the superior 3 sections. Those in the middle are too easy. SSS. All gasped at Zhua Fan's declaration. Being in the middle 3 sects had been demon scheming sect's life dream. Not even considering the superior 3 sects, these double dragon gathering veterans felt small before Zhua Fan's great ambition. Truly, the young surpass the old. Zhua Fan, you have a wider view and greater goals than we ever could. Fiend Gue patted his shoulder. How confident are you? Zhua Fan shook his head. Their disciples are abnormal. Taking Yin Mo as an example, I had to use 2/3 of my strength to test him out. If the Double Dragon Gathering has someone much stronger, I may have no chance. But no worries, I'll give my all either way. The trio's faces twitched. Yin Mo was like the representative of Hellion Flame, with how insane his talent was, among the very best of Western lands. They knew the guy, even if only by name, and the only one who could best him was the Western land's best talent, Wu Qingxiu. Yet even so, this dude of ours still had a third to spare. While not even the 3 of them could deal with one disciple, but this guy might pull off his ambition. He was the best that ever happened to the demon scheming sect, the trio chuckled. Let's leave it at that then. As long as it's for the sect, we'll follow you along, ha ha ha. The trio clapped in glee as they walked away, then perplexed just a few feet away. Since when did we start being like this? Not looking into this whole mess was more like using an excuse to get something out of Zhua Fan. What though? The trio exclaimed after some deep thinking. Sacred stones. The 3 were regretting it inside. They wanted to use this chance to put some fear in him and get him to cough some sacred stones to keep them quiet, only to have the punk make it like he was challenging superior 3 sects all along. Thus testing out Hellion Flame, they were about to extort Zhua Fan, yet the ship sailed in the end. The trio cursed their damn mouths, and more so, the punk's smooth style in getting them to earn jack squat from him. Steward Zhua is as cunning as a weasel. Zhua Fan's regret was way bigger, though he picked up on their intent from the start. So he faked being nice while saying whatever, only to end up challenging the superior 3 sect's mission was easy peasy, taking down a middle 3 sect and putting the demon scheming sect instead. Now, though he had to work harder based on Yin Mo, he knew the superior 3 sects were no easy targets. Needing to use half of Dragon Soul's power to beat the punk on the off chance the superior 3 sects had someone worse than Yin Mo, then he'd have hell to pay. The final fight could go either way, me and my goddamn mouth. Zhua Fan rubbed his mouth in regret. Shui Rohua came to him all tense. Young Master Zhao, what do you mean? Toothache. Zhua Fan deflected, looking at him oddly. She wondered. We've been cultivating for years now, so how can we get something so benign? Shui Rohua chuckled at his gloomy look. Zhua Fan asked, what do you want? Have you come to mock my toothache? I only found out now. Shui Rohua forced a smile. Young Master Zhao, thank you for all you have done. Mystical Heaven sect will remember this. Since we are all off for Double Dragon Gathering, and since your sect's disciples are in a bit of a bind, why don't we look after them on the way, to repay you for what you've done? We have our own plans, so we don't need your interference. Zhua Fan shot her down. Shui Rohua started. Young Master Zhua, please, you are our savior. It's only natural to look after those disciples that can barely move. Zhua Fan eyed her. I'm no believer in free meals and never counted on others to repay me. Missy, your actions are off. What's your angle? Zhua Fan's cold eyes pierced her very core, and tense Xian Xiaoyu shouted. Now we have to go along with some thieving demonic cultivators? There's no way a righteous sect, like Mystical Heaven sect, will let ourselves be smeared by their foul deeds. Young Master, with Yin Mo's whereabouts unknown and a demonic cultivator, he is bound to take revenge and will be involved in it. This disciple of the demon scheming sect is the only one that can stop him. We have to go with him if we want to get to Double Dragon Gathering safely. We will part ways when we get there anyway. I understand the young master is noble, and I respect that. However, this matter is too important. Please think of all of us and accept this. Having enough of Xian Xiaoyu's stubbornness, one elder shouted, echoing through the cave. Demon scheming sect gang had a mocking smile. All they know is how to burn bridges. Shui Ruohua blushed from shame. Lowering her head, I see. Yin Mo ran away, and you fear revenge. A shame you have such a moron for a teammate. Not that your elder isn't strange either. You'll all end up last, even if you go to Double Dragon Gathering. So you might as well save yourself the trouble and go home. Ha ha. Fan laughed as he went to his sec side. Shui Ruohua shouted, Sir Zhuo, please. Oh, I'm not angry. No way a bunch of fools could get a rise out of me. Fan waved dismissively. He glanced at Chu Qingsheng. We're slow to get there, but you're welcome to stay if you don't mind it. Shui Ruohua's eyes lit up and shouted, Thank you, Sir. But he was out of earshot, leaving Shui Ruohua watching him with a deep smile. Chapter 625, But Beetle. Chapter 625, But Beetle. 1212. Under the glorious rays of the morning sun, announcing the beginning of a beautiful day, Kuei Lang and the Stiffs were fighting a bitter battle with their own bodies, trudging through the flat and open road with every toiling step. Fan and the fiends were on a scenic tour, a sharp contrast to the tortured souls behind them. The only difference this morning brought was they got company. Mystical Heaven Sect was dragging itself 100 meters off like some but beetles. What should have been a smooth flight, free and refreshing, became a slow and boring pace on the ground. That of the stiff Xian Xiaoyu was fuming. If anyone sees us, a great righteous sect, stuck behind the demon scheming sect, will never hear the end of the humiliation. Elder Yun sighed. Young sect leader has changed so much, his temper has gotten worse. Everyone got sick of explaining the obvious to him for the umpteenth time. They had to stick to the demon scheming sect for their safety, though in through one ear and out through the other. The elders gave up in the end, taking the disciples and lagging behind the demon scheming sect, while ignoring the brat's blatant discontent. Elder Yun was still worried, seeing Xian Xiaoyu's sinister look. Yin Mo has pushed the young master deep down the demonic path. I fear he might be in a demonic abyss with no way of coming back. Little brother, enough with your complaining. It's hard enough to find someone to help us, and now they'll even protect us. Always criticizing them will only mean we bite the hands that feed us. This will be the greatest dishonor to our sect. Shui Hua advised with a smile. Xian Xiaoyu wouldn't hear it, his eyes becoming twisted, holding Zhuo Fan's back in his vile sight. Demonic cultivators are miscreants, evil, vile, sinister, and they're only helping us for their own gain. Tagging along will at any time get us in a danger we can never overcome. Young master, such potshots are unfounded. We have nothing they could ever want. Danner turned a smile to Chu Qingsheng. If there ever was some hidden plan, that'd be Sister Qingsheng. Everyone laughed, their gazes on her teasing, blushing. Chu Qingsheng glared back, then shook her head. If he was after me, that'd be a wish come true. Doesn't he care about you? Defending you with his very life is the best proof. Shui Ruohua eyed her oddly. Chu Qingsheng shook her head, one-sided. He is ruthless and cold, powerful and bold in his actions. I'd be happy for even a small fraction of time in his life. The women were perplexed. Aren't they close? Why is she so sad? Xian Xiaoyu's face grew twisted, his nails digging in his palms, and watching Zhuo Fan like a hawk. Sisters, let's help Sister Qingsheng. Danner proposed. The girls lit up and nodded, while Shui Ruohua hesitated. An angry rebuke welcomed them. Ignorant girls should stop gossiping and not do something so ridiculous and easily misunderstood. Have you all forgotten your senior sister's fate? Take the lessons of others to heart. The women turned a cautious look to Elder Yun's heavy face. Elder Yun said to Chu Qingsheng, Keep yourself strong against that playboy, or you'll be thrown deep down the demonic path for which you'll never return. If only he was a playboy. Chu Qingsheng nodded. I understand. Back to the front. Fiend Yang snickered behind him. You call them righteous cultivators? But beetles are more like it. Now they're dragging behind us, needing our protection, yet still cuss us. Ridiculous. All gave a firm nod. Zhuo Fan, you aren't one to have anyone follow you around. Why the change? Fiend Yang growled. Zhuo Fan shrugged. The road is meant to be walked. They can follow all they want. Besides, they aren't interfering with us. A bunch of but beetles. Pisses me off. Fiend Yang snorted. Kid, are you after keeping that woman safe? The The sect has a rule against love. This won't do at all. Fiend Yang rubbed his wretched fingers in front of him, in the universal sign of pay or I snitch. What you doing? Zhua Fan had a dumb look. Fiend Yang snickered. Brother, come now, show a little appreciation. We will make a peep. Give each of us 1,000 sacred stones, and we'll turn a blind eye. 1,000 sacred stones? Go rob Double Dragon Manor. Bro, you're wrong. We've seen the extent of your wealth, and so much in the hand of a single man would only bring danger to you. It's your Paul's duty to look after it. Fiend Yang saw his first attempt fail. He used the carrot and the stick this time. Zhua Fan shrugged. Bro, sacred stones are the rarest in the world. Do you think I am that rich? I did have a few, planning to use them in Double Dragon Gathering to save me from danger, but now I had to use them all, leaving me just 2 poor stones. Here, take them. Zhua Fan took out 2 glittering rocks and threw them at them like he was the victim. The fiends were dumbstruck. Is the punk holding out on us or not? They just didn't want to believe he was out, though thinking how rare sacred stones were compared with spiritual herbs. It's not like the punk can take out a pile. The trio sighed. Lamenting their misfortune, Zhua Fan snickered inside. He was no pushover to let others walk all over him. In this case, balking under the first threat would mean balking at the second and third. On it, when he would not let anyone get anything out of him. No matter how many sacred stones he had, the fiends would have cussed and blustered to high heaven if they heard him. Dude, just how filthy rich are you? You make yourself so inconspicuous. It'd be a miracle if anyone doesn't fall for you and get milked instead. In this way, the 2 sects, keeping their distance of course, walked this wide road blissfully unaware, just a way away. A pair of sinister eyes glared at them, covered in blood and nasty wounds. He was more like a walking corpse than a human. Elder Yun was right on the money when he said demonic cultivators were spiteful. Yin Mo itched for that sweet revenge even before he got healed, since the demon scheming sect possessed a monster. He let them slide, turning to mystical heaven sect as the victim of his tantrum, though he just caught up only to feel like crying. This blasted mystical heaven sect is on the demon scheming sect's tail. His hope at revenge was shot dead watching Zhua Fan's carefree walk. Yin Mo's fist tightened. A nobody from a lower 3 sect made a fool out of a disciple from a superior 3 sect. The best in Western lands is sure to have a laugh at your expense. An old man laughed. Yin Mo barked. Who's there? Just a drunkard. A shadow came into view, revealing the same guy Zhua Fan showed such respect back in the inn. Yin Mo's heart sank. Why you? This old guy was the only one unaffected by his array when he took hold of all the town folk. He got closer to look into the old man, only to be flung a mile away by his aura. He knew then and there the old guy was a freak he could never touch. He only lived because the old man allowed it. So he treated him with respect. When Shui Ruohua caught the drunkard, he didn't make a move until the old man left. With the Double Dragon Gathering getting closer, he had to move fast, yet this same old guy was back. Chapter 626, Double Dragon Manor at last. Chapter 626, Double Dragon Manor at last. Greetings, Senior. I am Yin Mo of Hellion Flame. He cupped his hands and bowed in respect and fear as much as his shaky knees could hold him. The drunkard took a swing out of his flask, his hazy eyes holding a particular sharpness. Hellion Flame? Thinking of using it to scare me. I would never. Yin Mo's eyes darted all over. It is my honor to meet Senior, and a blessing to talk to you, sir. Hellion Flame will do its utmost to look after such a guest. With the old guy's intent unknown, showing off his credential would help Yin Mo scare him. But wouldn't the old man know by now from his toying with the town just a while back? Funny how he first mentioned it to threaten, and now to make himself amiable, be nice, and the sect will be nice as well. Or you can do anything to me and have the whole sect on your tail. The drunkard chuckled at his attempt. Kiddo, you're too young if you think you can beat me. In my day, I climbed on top of all the sects in Western lands. No one can stop me whether they like it or not. What? Yin Mo trembled in disbelief. Does that mean as Senior is? The drunkard sighed. Kid, you have quite the head on your shoulders, but it's best you don't say it. I came to Western lands on different matters, yet saw quite the show. There are talents in every generation, leading the way for hundreds of years. He sighed and watched Shuafan below with an eerie gaze. It's been 1,000 years, and someone formed a heaven dragon soul, and from a lower 3 sect too. The double dragon gathering this time will be intense. Ha ha. The bowing Yinmo's heart shuddered. He already guessed the old man's identity. Someone not even the superior 3 sects could touch. What are you still doing here? Go on. Settle your grudges at Double Dragon Gathering. You will have the advantage there, with the superior 3 sects setting the stage with your strong brothers. Why waste time here, alone, when you can't even beat him? The drunkard laughed. Yin Mo's heart was in chaos, but he had no choice but to listen. He's right. With the kid there, I can't do anything. Better to gang up on him with everyone at Double Dragon Gathering. What can a lower 3 sect disciple do alone anyway? The potential of a sect stands in a group. Yin Mo cupped his hands. Thank you for the reminder, Senior. Yin Mo left in a flash of fire, leaving the drunkard to watch Shua fan and giggle between gulps from his flask. A month later, a group was resting in a thick forest with sinister faces. Demonic cultivators, get up. We'll be there in just one more day. A fierce voice from an elder got them to walk again. But then he snapped. Where's Yin Mo? We're almost there, and the brat is still gone. Doesn't he want to fight the best talent in Western lands? How spineless. Got my hopes up for nothing. Once I get my hands on him, he'll be sorry. A curvy and enticing woman giggled. Elder Chinya. Senior brother isn't one to forget his duties. He will be here. Don't we have a day left? It doesn't matter with who he's wasting time, but Brother Yin will never let Wu Qingxiu get scot-free. Defeating Wu Qingxiu will make him the best talent in Western lands. Grinning, a lanky man snickered. Brother Yin had been waiting years for the chance to take it. Elder Chinya nodded after a pause. I hope he comes back on time. The rotten punk, always fooling around. I will teach him a lesson he won't soon forget. The rest chuckled. Yin Mo was the apple of every Hellion Flame's elder's eyes at the slightest violence from a no-name elder, and the sect leader with venerables would be on his case. As for teaching him, it all came down to some angry words. That was all the authority this elder had. Elder Chinya saw the disdain in their eyes and grew angrier at the truth. If he really did tear the kid a new one, he wouldn't be long for this world, not with those overprotective old guys. Whoosh! A flash of red came before them and revealed Yin Mo. Everyone cheered. Didn't I tell you? Brother Yin will come to fight Wu Qingxiu, for sure. Yeah, you know Senior Brother Yin the best. Hi, hi, hi. They came around Yin Mo, followed by Elder Qing's barking and a heavy slap over the head. Brat, you stood me up again. Any later, and you'd miss Double Dragon Gathering. Oh, Yin Mo shuddered and gasped in pain. Blood leaked from his head, and on his clothes, a woman pointed at the elder, shrieking, You're finished, elder. You hurt Senior Brother Yin. His loss in Double Dragon Gathering will be on you. And now, hold on, I didn't do that. I barely touched him. The elder shivered. It was just a light slap. He isn't that weak to not take it. Elder, now you've done it. You called him weak and hurt him. The woman snickered. You always fuss about Senior Brother Yin Mo, and now you act on your grudges. Next will come revenge, and it's curtains for you. Being high-handed for your own gain, you disregard the sect's future. If word got to the sect, Elder Chinya glared at her with all the fury he had. You sure know how to dump crimes on someone, witch. You may leave the elder alone. He's got nothing to do with this, and you know it. If a slap would kill me, I'd be dead ages ago. Yin Mo sighed. You may giggled, turning a strange gaze on him. What happened to you to end up like this, Senior Brother? Who indeed in the Western lands could make such a mess of Yin Mo? His eyes sparked with unrestrained hatred. Don't remind me. Went out to hunt, only to have someone prey on me instead. Elder Chinya rushed. Who's the old bastard that did it? What galls must they have to touch Hellion Flame? No old bastard, just one man. Yin Mo shook his head in shame. Never mind, there's something more important I have to tell you. We need to lay low and not provoke anyone, especially an old drunkard. Everyone was speechless. Yin Mo sighed. The legendary man is back. We know, the whole 10 sects are better off not tangling with him, lest it would recreate the cruel bloodshed from 800 years ago. You mean, Elder Chinga gasped. I heard of him, but to think he's still alive. The rest recalled the sect's warnings, and their hearts trembled. All got used to doing whatever the hell they wanted, but if they made a wrong move, it'd be curtains for them and no one to save them. Not even their sect, everyone felt danger looming overhead. With Yin Mo's heavy injuries forgotten, they set out towards Double Dragon Manor. 3 months later, Zhuofan's gang passed through here as well. Chapter 627, Sects Assemble. Chapter 627, Sects Assemble. We're here, the Double Dragon Manor. Before a quaint courtyard, Elder Yin shouted. Mystical Heaven Sect's group grew lively, itching to go, and the demon scheming sect turned a blind eye to the excited looks, even mocking them. This is the thanks we get tucking you in from danger all the way here? Nothing but a bunch of ungrateful swines. And proceeded to turn their stiff bodies, taking one painful step at a time. Chu Qingsheng came to Zhuofan, her smile slipping. We will now part ways. Once inside, we are enemies. Zhuofan didn't look her in the eye. Chu Qingsheng nodded with a sad smile. I may sound overconfident when I say this, but I won't hold back. Nor I. Zhuofan spoke flatly. Chu Qingsheng walked past him, avoiding looking at him in fear of never leaving. Zhuofan looked unfazed, not showing any trace of emotion. They'd been like this the whole trip, yet content knowing they were by each other's side. The two had different paths ahead of them, with but a rare crossing. Xian Xiaoyu snickered inside. We're finally done with those demons. Shui Ruoha took the disciples to Zhuofan. We are grateful for you looking after us on our way here, young master Ruoha. I won't forget it. It's fine. We were going the same way anyway. Zhuofan waved her off. Shui Ruoha smiled. Chu Qingsheng and Zhuofan were evasive all the tripe, needing Shui Ruoha to be the go-betweener. It didn't take her long to figure out Zhuofan's character. He sounds harsh, but doesn't mean it. While being truly evil would mean a wide smile, like that of a tiger. Danner giggled. Young Master Zhuo, will you let us off in the Double Dragon gathering? Ha ha ha, what do you think? Zhuofan snickered. Danner stuck out her cute tongue, flustered. Don't smile, or I'll really run out of luck. Everyone knows your smile means you're about to jump them. I don't want to live through that fear. Everyone laughed, Mystical Heaven Sect and Demon Scheming Sect alike. The last got in one try. Having stewards was tempered down pat. Zhuofan had to roll his eyes. Am I that fake? Shui Ruoha left with the girls following the rest of their group. Fiend Yang shook his head. They're not half bad. At least they know to say thanks, unlike the old coots. Mystical Heaven Sect is such a phony sect, but the women, Kuei-Lang sighed. Zhuofan eyed them with a cold gaze. Step, lively boys, full speed ahead for Double Dragon Manor. Once you get there, you can move again. Yes, they all cheered, pushing forward the last trek with small steps. After 3 months of hard work, they finally resembled normal people. Zhuofan was proud of it. Their bodies should be tougher by a whole lot, and once they're cured, their cultivation, they soon arrived before the courtyard, plain and with just a meter-tall door and no one guarding it. Is this Double Dragon Manor or some nobody's home? Where are the elders, the disciples? Are you sure this is the right place? The venerables laughed at their obvious puzzlement. Don't mind it, and step inside to see the real world. They took the lead, with Zhuofan giving them a look. They soon passed the weary door, and soon arrived before a hall with one elder on each side, sitting cross-legged. The two opened their eyes. Who comes? State your name. One of Tianyu's 3 guardian sects, Demon Scheming Sect, has come to participate in the Dual Dragon Gathering. I asked that the elders let us through. Fiend Yang spoke with respect. The two nodded. Demon Scheming Sect's 2 4th-layer ethereal stage cultivators. 1 in the 5th layer, 3 in the 2nd layer radiant stage. 1 in the 3rd layer, 2 in the 5th layer, 2 in the 8th layer, and 2 in the 9th. You may pass. Zhuofan gasped inside. They got our cultivations on the spot, just using perception. He even noticed that every disciple went up a layer, even himself. While he and the fiends could pick up on the stiff seal cultivation, these oldies must have some strong souls to do it with such ease. The two held their palms together, and a powerful soul strength was released. Then they pushed behind them at the door. with veins showing on their scrawny arms. The thick spiritual energy from within hit the group hard, even from just a crack. Leaving all of them stunned, there were lush forests surrounding towering peaks, with birds dancing around lakes. Paradise. This is no hall, but a whole new world. The Double Dragon Manor is behind a barrier. Zhuo Fan bowed in gratitude at the two elders and took his group inside. Fiend Yang bowed as well. Elders, may I ask which ones we are? The last. The two spoke in unison. The other 8 are here, with Mystical Heaven sect arriving just moments ago. Them? They're only here with our protection. Fiend Yang scoffed then again. How could a pack of stiff zombies ever arrive on time? Fiend Yang was about to go when one of the elders asked, "Did your disciples take the zombie pill?" "How did you know?" Fiend Yang was stunned. The elder's brow shook. Demon scheming sect must have put it all it had in this gathering. Using the zombie pill is wondrous, but costly. Not even superior 3 sects would take such a price lightly. Isn't it just a 7th grade pill? Fiend Yang played Zhuo Fan's bossy and rich stance to a T. The old man chuckled. 7th? Then you're not the one to have used this method on them. If you want to poison someone, using 7th grade pills is more than enough. But to increase the cultivation of disciples, you need the antidote too. That one's 10th grade. Ugh. Fiend Yang was stunned, then mocked. So what? We have a money bag. And he just strutted in, leaving the two dumbfounded. One said in amazement, "Demon scheming sect must have struck gold. To use pills even superior 3 sects would hate to. I wonder who has their back, and if they have found another sacred mine." Ha ha ha, don't speak nonsense. Why would they be coming here if they did? The other sneered. The two burst out laughing soon after they stood up and walked in as well. The sects are here, and we should go in as well. The gates slowly closed behind them. In that moment of neglect, they missed a ragged person slipping right and scratching his red nose. The man took a mouthful of his flask, his smile positively evil. Chapter 628, Old Enemies Awareness. Chapter 628, Old Enemies Awareness. Demon scheming sect, I presume. Please follow me. The gang had yet to really appreciate the wonderful scenery as a polite voice drew their attention. A middle-aged man in gray robes was bowing. They all cried out in unison, returning the bow. There's no need for that, please. There was no way they could just let an ethereal stage expert bow to nobodies like them. Ha ha ha. It's fine. I am but a humble usher. You're all honored guests we have to look after. Please, it's this way. The man gave another bow. The group bowed as well and followed tense. It was a novelty for them, seeing an ethereal stage expert bow to radiant stage cultivators. Fiend Yang scolded. You look like you've never seen beyond the doors of your home. This is Double Dragon Manor, and all is done by its rules. Here, ethereal stage experts are the weakest. If not them welcoming us, who then? The 2 leaders? The rest nodded, more stunned than ever. Double Dragon Manor, the head of the 10 sects, was filled with powerful figures. They even had an ethereal stage expert usher them in. In other words, Double Dragon Manor only sees potential, not the current level of cultivation. Zhuo Fan muttered. Fiend Yang nodded. Smart, Zhuo Fan. Yes, they look at potential, the ones they can raise, and how far. These same experts of Double Dragon Gathering, if placed outside, they'd only have reached bone tempering or profound heaven stage. Why else would they hold the Double Dragon Gathering, if not for seeking talent? So don't underestimate yourselves. Once you enter this place, this improvement speed shall be yours. Kuei Lang and the others' eyes lit up, their minds wandering to many, many wonderful fantasies. Zhuo Fan snickered. Fiend Yang, you think it's nice to poke your host where it hurts in front of them? Zhuo Fan chuckled and pointed at their usher Ugh. The fiends felt a chill shit, running my mouth in the host's presence. Saying this guy in front is nothing but a resource sponge is like shooting myself in the foot. Sure, the rules made these ethereal stage experts not be rude to the guests, but did that make it all right to insult them? At least their usher turned a deaf ear coming upon a courtyard. The usher smiled. This shall be your accommodations. 15 rooms in total. Please take a rest. Double Dragon Gathering is about to begin. Please be aware that Double Dragon Manor forbids grudge fights. The consequences of such a fight are dire. Seeing calm as ever, they relaxed. Our idle talk hasn't caused any damage. Fan nodded as well. I was wondering why the two guards announced our numbers. So it's for our stay here. The guys entered with a smile, with the usher speaking when Fiend Yang was the last. Sir, I'd have to correct you on one thing. The resources given are fixed, with cultivation reaching a point where no amount of resources can help. I reckon you are a venerable in your sect, yes? You must have wasted your fair share of resources too. But coming to Double Dragon Manor isn't always a boon. This is called potential saturation. Having reached your full potential, any more resources will only fatten you up a bit. Fiend Yang's face twitched. He saw the usher smile, whether from anger or hatred, and his face fell. The others chuckled, going in. He not only heard us, but cared a whole deal. It's best to let Fiend Yang take the fall, not like we ran our mouths. The listeners beat it, while the storyteller was left behind with a horrified look. They made me say it, pointing at the treacherous punks inside. Fiend Yang went in, as well only the usher was left behind, bearing a chilling smile. Fan toured his new home. Quiet enough, a perfect place to advance. So he turned to the stiffies, take a room, and I'll cure you after to get ready for the Double Dragon gathering in a couple of days. Oh. They've been stiffs for 6 months now, and it was time to be relieved of such a burden. Some even had tears in their eyes. Who the hell is hollering there? You threw off my master's hiking mood. A buff man and an old guy made their way inside. Seeing Fan and the rest sizing their home, he mocked. Why, your demon scheming sect? Ha ha ha, what of it? Fan raised an eyebrow. Who's the leader? You're looking at it. Fan admitted, sizing him up. The tough guy cracked up. The leader is a third-layer radiant stage cultivator, and the rest are cripples. Is the demon scheming sect so strapped for talents they sent you fools? I knew it. The only ones we need to look after is Mystical Heaven sect. Ha ha ha. The demon scheming sect was looking at him like a moron. Hey boy, do you know why your sect leader sent you here? Having achieved his daily dose of laughter, the tough guy patted Fan's chest in mockery. Ain't it obvious? 'Cause I'm strong. Fan kept mum. Having gotten in his head, Fan was shaking in his boots. The tough guy slapped his chest, hollering, That's because yours truly wiped the floor with your elites and had no one to send but you. You have me to thank for getting out of the sect to see the world. Me, Hui Xiong from the beast taming sect. Though all you're good for is gawking, then go back home if you want to keep your lives. The old guy nodded now and then at the side, clearly mocking as well. Oh, so you're expecting thanks for kicking our home and punching the daylights out of the elites. That's why we got to go to the Double Dragon gathering, is that it? Fan sneered. The others had contempt in their smiles, ignoring or oblivious of the other party's condescending. Hui Xiong stuck out his chest further, if possible, nodding with absolute confidence. I don't much care for your thanks. Only urge you to give up when you get on stage. Don't think for a second I'll go easy on some cripples. Your bro here is a man of principle. Flicking his mop of hair, Hui Xiong left, having his fill of humiliating his opponents, with his head held high and a spring in his step. Elder Lu went right after, but not before giving the others one last taunting smile. Fan was out of it for a long time. Well, now that the comic relief is gone, let's get back to business. The rest laughed too. Just then, Fan's eyes flashed azure and all over his body. Purple lightning flickered as the red glow on his right arm faded. It was only for a split second, yet enough to make the rest jump in fright. What's wrong? Fiend Een asked. Fan shook his head, perplexed himself. I don't know. I just felt my heart skip a beat. Strange, just what was it? In a quaint courtyard nearby, a handsome youth in blue robe smiled. Junior brother, this place isn't bad at all. Much better than where we trained. I just feel like sleeping here. A man in his 20s in fine gray clothes replied as he stretched. The first one cursed, Damn brat. All you ever know is to laze off. But this is life. A freak loafer like you gets to replace me as the best talent in Western lands in this competition. I can hardly accept it. Don't worry, senior brother. I won't fight you. The youth in gray began. Then he squinted as an inferno exploded from his body and turned all furniture to ash. Even the first one had to cry out. What's wrong? I don't know. The perplexed youth in gray put on a staunch expression. I just had a feeling my old enemy is here. Chapter 629, Running into Old Pals. Chapter 629, Running into Old Pals. How is it? Are you all right? Fiend Gay was worried for Joafan, while the others watched nervously clutching his chest. Joafan muttered to himself before easing a breath. It's nothing, just a feeling. Double Dragon Gathering won't go easy on us. Tell me something I don't know. Double Dragon Gathering has the greatest powers in Western lands. It'd be strange if it were easy. No one, not even the superior 3 sects, will boast they'll reach their goal. Fiend Yang chuckled and patted his shoulder. I'm most thankful for how much care you have for the sect, but don't beat yourself over it. You said it yourself, to be a superior 3 sect. We didn't even ask you to take us to the top, so why worry? Ha ha ha, you're beating Steward Jua over it. The gang twitched, watching Fiend Yang's eyes in silence. Anyone would feel the pressure getting a lower 3 sect to become a superior 3 sect, even Steward Jua. Venerables, isn't your aim a bit off from reality? Joafan's mouth twitched as well, but sighed. Superior 3 sect it is, nothing to it. Blame my loose mouth. Haha, don't say that. It's good for young people to have big dreams. Fiend Yang beamed and patted Joafan harder on the shoulder, while Joafan's smile was bitter. His eyes were firm. He alone knew what that throb was all about. It came with a warning label that he was about to meet the biggest threat of his life, like a clash of titans, coming to a head. The winner rose while the loser was vanquished. It was a battle weaved in the fabric of destiny. Does that mean I'll meet my match? Worry bore down on his furrowing brow. Knock. Everyone turned to the door as a man in gray stood there, an ethereal stage cultivator, and just as plain as the usher, the man bowed and smiled. People of the demon scheming sect, I ask that your honored elders and venerables will be coming to Heaven-Reaching Pavilion to discuss the Double Dragon Gathering. We're the ones. Please lead the way, brother. Fiend Yang bowed. He had enough getting on one caddy's bad side. The fiends dumped everything in Joafan's lap as they followed the man. Joafan turned to his people. Face hard, voice calm. Right, let's get this done. Pick a room and eat this, then meditate. Joafan threw each of them a vial. Kuwait gang perked up. Heaven-Reaching pill. It can heal meridians and renew life, but it's also zombie pills antidote. Taking this will transform your bodies. Haven't we taken it already? You said it only works once. Kuwait gang asked. Joafan nodded. Its effect will only work once, but does not equal removing the poison. Your progress from removing it will have a lesser effect than when you took this pill the first time. Everyone nodded. It didn't change the fact that Tai Ying and all others that took it once felt they were losing out. It was plain to see the biggest effect came from getting zombie pill to stiffen you up before overcoming it with the Heaven-Reaching pill. Ah, what a shame, wasting such a pill just to remove some poison. Ignorant of the fact that by not taking it the first time, they wouldn't be alive to take it the second time. Joafan shook his head. They withdrew to their chambers and began the process, while Joafan set up a defensive array knock. The gentle rapping on the door was just like the first. Joafan spoke. The venerables have left for Heaven-Reaching Pavilion. What is the dash? That was no man standing at the door, not with that figure. The two women brought a smile to his lips. Shuang, Yongning, what are you doing here? The two shared a long look before squealing at him. Joafan. Wait, back up, what's going on here? Stopping the two out of reach, Joafan asked, Don't tell me you're joining the Double Dragon Gathering too. The two gave a dry laugh. Yongning began. We're not you, some fighting junkie. We only came to watch. Watch. Schwanger nodded. The Double Dragon Gathering decides the positions of the 9 sects, their resources, and their territory. Each nation sends a delegation to understand these changes that might affect their future. Taking the Demon Scheming sect as an example, if you become a middle 3 sect, you will be offered a much greater territory and resources, even having a whole empire under it. Joafan's eyes shook. That's why the Demon Scheming sects higher up stress so much about this tournament. They would pay anything if it means getting amazing rewards and more resources. win now to benefit for centuries. With more land and resources, a sect could grow to unseen heights. And it all rested on Double Dragon Gathering's outcome. Fan was pensive. You're telling me a middle 3 sect has an empire all to itself? While a lower 3 sect can only get a third, like Tianyu's 3 guardian sects? Yes and no. What matters here is the resource allocation. Cocking her head, Yoning had a faint smile. Look at Beast Taming Sect. They are a lower 3 sect, but as they are from the Chuanrong Empire, with little resources harvested there, you can say they have a sole empire under them. Tianyu, bordering the Chuanrong Empire, is rich in resources. So much so that it has 2 lower 3 sects and a middle 3 sect sharing its hall. As for the superior 3 sects, they each have a large empire, with tens of more resources than us. That's why the late emperor made a deal with Chuanrong in secret. By ceding land, he affected the sect's gains and ultimately their future. Any accord between nations is for them to settle. The sects can't interfere. This is a rule of Double Dragon Manor, all to prevent the western lands from plunging into chaos. Schwanger added, recalling the old wound. Yongning looked dispirited. Zhuofan was reminded of Xie Wuyue's words and now knew the true leader of Western lands. It's all Double Dragon Manor's tactic to keep Western land strength up. In this grand design, the empires were but ant swarms, each toiling over extracting resources. As long as nothing interfered with them, the income would be constant. While the allocation was all decided in the Double Dragon Gathering, based on their efforts, the sects would stem any budding chaos from growing out of hand, while also banned from interfering with an empire's ruling, just so the Western lands would keep their peace. Each is a cog in Western lands' machine to ramp up the power. By controlling the 9 sects, Double Dragon Manor controlled Western lands. It's all so simple, yet much more far-reaching than it seems, with incredible results. Zhuofan's eyes, showing a snort, reached the trio's ears, butting into their friendly talk, just like an animal pen, rearing them for slaughter. Who does Double Dragon Manor think it is? Zhuofan stared to see a very familiar man at the table. An unkempt man with a red nose was gulping down from his flask. The others had one feeling watching him. Lonesome, Senior, are you from Double Dragon Manor? Zhuofan probed. The guy was so strong, even he didn't notice him coming in, making it that much easier to die if the old man wanted to. The drunkard sneered. Double Dragon Manor. Haha, that was before. Chapter 630, Alike. Chapter 630, Alike. Before. Is he an exiled disciple? But how'd he get in? Any sect would have warned itself against its exiles. That goes double for Double Dragon Manor. Zhuofan was filled with questions. The drunkard chuckled. Haha, they could try all they like to keep me out, but it won't work. There's not a place out there I can't reach. Cocky. Zhuofan jerked and even felt respect, but more than anything, on alert. At best, those words will make him a hero. At worst, a criminal. If he lost it, nothing could stop him from doing whatever the hell he wanted. Back up. Why does that sound familiar? It sounds oddly similar to me. Racking his brains, he came to one conclusion. The old man and I are so alike. The drunkard had a thin smile. Lighten up. You've given me wine, and I find you to my liking, so I won't be hard on you. Then he turned a ridiculing smile at the girls. They shuddered back, tense. His simple presence sent fear deep into their bones. Ha ha ha. I'm not one to pick on girls. He chuckled. Tianyu's princess, I take it. Ha ha ha. I heard what happened to your empire and what you said. Tell me, do you think your father was right? Yun Shuang paused. He may be my father, but he sold out his nation. He's no different than letting evil in. Ha, we're just princess. What then if he only ceded the land while no soldiers came in? The drunkard laughed. Yongning hesitated. Isn't that the same? Not even close. The drunkard shook his head. An enemy invasion means pillaging and slaughter, while ceding some land does not include such cruel actions. Nevertheless, the land is the royal family's, and the common man has not one stake in it. Regardless of the master, the common people will still be worked to the bones for their lords. So what's the difference? Win or lose, the populace suffers all the same. That being said, Double Dragon Manor, the sect, and even empires, all they're doing is raising cattle, so they could suck the blood and marrow from their weary bodies. The trio looked at each other with a start, and their hearts sank. Joie Fan pondered. Double Dragon Manor offers stability to Western lands' powers and guarantees growth. A stroke of genius, one might say. Won't letting Western lands grow weaker draw invaders in? The fate of the people then would be far worse. Bullshit, the drunkard sneered. Nothing but a goddamn excuse. They're only after guarding the sacred mines, a cultivator's interests, and not giving a single lick about some weary nobodies. Let's say the central area invades. You think they'd go after the people, the ant? No, all they care about is taking the resources. They need these ants to mine the stuff just like Double Dragon Manor does. Joie Fan chilled and hinted at the girls to not aggravate him. Further, the drunkard caught him and flicked his hand. Sorry, I forgot myself. Every time I talk about this, I get riled up. I used to be just like you, thinking the best of the Western lands, with hardly any heavy conflicts, filled with peace and prosperity. It all changed from one meeting. A woman. Yoning's eyes lit up. The drunkard exclaimed, "Girl, how did you know? Isn't it obvious? Only a woman can change a man." Yoning stuck out her proud chest. The drunkard had a cheerful smile. "You girls sure know a lot. Just how many did you change? You can't slander me. I'm innocent. I didn't change one." And she sneaked a peek at Joafan. Joafan said, "Senior, just ignore her. She has her head in the clouds from too many perfect matches stories." Perfect match? Ha ha ha. Sometimes that isn't far from reality either. The drunkard sighed, going down memory lane. I used to be a young man with dignity and elegance traveling the world. But after meeting her one time, too many, that foolishly naive princess had trapped me in the secular world. I found her the most pitifully foolish girl. A princess, fond of walking among her people, falling for the most obvious scams yet never regretting it. Joafan muttered, "Senior, such a dopey girl, oblivious to the dangers of human society, will one day die from it. If I were you, I'd cut all ties with her so I'd not fall as well." "What's my intention to you, anyway?" The drunkard raised an eyebrow. Joafan shrugged. He fell for it. The drunkard's face took a softer tone. "Women are like water. Men sometimes need them by their side to comfort them." Though on many occasions, her naive and foolish attitude drove me up the walls and got me in much trouble. Thinking about it, none of it mattered. It's not my fault I was awesome, wishing to take her burden. On cue, the girls whipped their dewy eyes on Joafan. The drunkard reminds me of someone, just like Steward Joie, who likes taking others' burdens. Scratching his chin, Joafan remained silent, his eyes avoiding their piercing stare, only to later realize even all my power had reached its limit. I wanted to fight those scheming geezers so much, yet was unable to. The drunkard's eyes flashed with bloodthirst. That year, their neighboring kingdom attacked her homeland. The sect in charge of its well-being saw the lands were safe and ignored them, leaving the people at the border to suffer. She was plagued with worry for them. I even defied Double Dragon Manor's rule in not interfering many times, only to be accused by the enemy and forced back to the sect to receive my punishment. Our separation would be final. Did something happen to her? Yoning was absorbed in the story. Joafan rolled his eyes. "Girl, you really have read too many stories." The drunkard's face was hard and scary. With me gone, the masterminds enacted their real plan. While they harassed the border, a group made contact with the princess. They enticed her into moving the defense 1,000 miles inward, a mountain range, which made it easier to defend. This way, both sides' people would be spared. She fell for it completely. By stealing the emperor's seal, she signed a ceding agreement. The enemy used it to force the defending general to draw back and take the rich stretch of land. By the time the emperor found out, it was too late. The sects overlooking the empire were outraged, fanning the population's flames and making the royal family abdicate, while condemning the princess to execution for high treason. The news came to me in the last hour, when I could do nothing to help. I reached only to see her corpse, and could only hear the mob's accusations and mockeries. They were clearly plotting against the dope princess. Juefan noticed the drunkard's hard stare and rectified his speech. Senior, this might not be my place to say this, but if it were me, I'd slaughter a bunch of them to put the fear of me in their hearts and let them know she was under my wing. At worst, I'll just get punished in the sect. But the result would be different. Finding that no rules will hold you back, they'll never make a move against the princess. But by obeying the sect's orders like a good child, they acted regardless of how strong you were. Since the sect's rules bound you, you could do nothing. Even if you did, they'd just rat you out to Double Dragon Manor. All you had to do was go berserk from the start. The drunkard nodded. I regretted it so much not being a demonic cultivator back then. Having your recklessness, she would have still been alive. But I knew it was all but too late, bound by righteous rules while those bastards clapped in joy. With a bone-deep hatred evident in his eyes, the drunkard relived that day before the trio. Chapter 631, Danxing Shun. Chapter 631, Danxing Shun. Senior, calm down. Juefan intervened, seeing the drunkard's foul mood. Wishing he wouldn't go on a drunken craze for now Yongning, the ever-dreamy lass, was too caught up in the story to care. What then? Juefan rolled his eyes, feeling like kicking her out. He's bearing his soul's greatest pain here. You want to carve him up for the juicy bits? Are you suicidal? The drunkard turned heavy, his jaw tight. Then I rushed to the enemy nation, slaughtering the royal family, and killed my way through its guardian sect, throwing their nameplate into a bonfire. Nice one. Juefan clapped with honest praise, hoping, if anything, it would curb the drunken craze for a while longer, though all he heard was a sigh, followed by a dark face. Boy, you'd be better off removed from this world. You'll sooner or later plunge it into hell. Ugh, Juefan jerked, his mouth curled in disdain. He thought himself was the biggest rogue out there, only to find his match in an OL drunkard. You're the one purging clans and stirring sects. So what are you doing making me the menace? I'll have you know I do not purge clans or sects. Well, not in this life. The drunkard smiled, pointing at his chest. Boy, you're tough, shrewd, and brave. The only downside is your heart's unsteady. Then again, which demonic cultivator ever had a firm heart? I've hardly seen any, even among righteous cultivators. Not even myself have one, ha. With a self-deprecating smile, the drunkard continued. The mess I caused then forced Double Dragon Manor to come after me. But who do they take me for to just fall just like that? While the first time I came to receive the sect's punishment willingly, this time I was in too much pain to care about anything. I saw the whole world as my enemy, and when I returned to the sect, I killed anyone in sight. Whichever of the 10 sects of Western lands I set foot on, all were left in chaos and burning. It was a warning to never try to use rules on me, and to leave me the hell alone. But what was the point? Just some tantrum since she didn't come back. The drunkard shouted, his eyes bloodshot, yet shook his head in the end. I was only after one sect at first, but the rage consumed me. I targeted all of them, like a true madman. Juefan's heart sank, his eyes looking everywhere. Why does that sound familiar? Where have I heard it before? With a gulp of wine, the drunkard laughed. I was as close to losing my mind in the madness, to let my demon control me. How did you crawl back? Like a good child listening to a bedtime story, Yoning stared with big eyes, eager to hear the end. The drunkard smirked at her interest, finding the audience pleasing. I have to thank her for that. Taken over by madness as I was, I stumbled upon her lady-in-waiting, bringing me her will. She hadn't been fooled and knew it all along. It was all a trap. He sighed. She knew it was the enemy's scheme and that it would ruin her clan, but also knew if the land was turned over to the enemy, they wouldn't suffer. Whether the proposal was right or wrong, it all came down to the ruler's judgment. It brought me back to the time we talked about our dreams of peace on earth. But how many could achieve it? Righteous cultivators hide behind justice when they take it all, where in fact, all they had were demons. And do I need to say anything about demonic cultivators? You said Double Dragon Manor protects Western lands' peace, while I say it has no moral behind it, making it just another cesspool of greed and power plays. The people are nothing more than dead men walking, destroying themselves, all under a false peace. Lass, tell me, was it wrong of her to cede her land? The drunkard set his eyes on Yoning. Yoning paused. As long as the people had a better life afterward. Aren't empires supposed to protect the people? Ha ha ha. How clever you are. The drunkard laughed. Only caring about the common good. You're just as foolish as her, yet smarter than all the others. The true fool here is none other than me, saying I wanted to build a perfect world. And what did I get? Her death. And I running amok across western lands. Such a fool I was. Juefan sympathized with a pat on his shoulder. Ha! Senior, men tell nothing but lies in their pursuit of women, spewing great and impressive things. Oh, bite me, I'm not that shameless like you. I was always truthful to her. The drunkard glared. I just knew your heart is skewed. But the more it is, the more you should search for a lass with her heart in the right place, to bring you back on the straight and narrow. Just like her. You said she was foolish, ha ha ha, when she was just so kind. Juefan jerked and frowned. Having felt this before, the drunkard's feelings for the princess were just like his for Ninger. By the looks of it, masterminds of their caliber needed a naive sidekick to keep their minds stable. They were the only people capable of bringing peace of mind in this world of lies and deceit. Dangling the flask over his open mouth, yet not a drop came to soothe his suffering. The drunkard sighed. Out of wine again. I gotta get myself some more. It's a rare sight meeting young folk willing to listen to my ramblings. If luck has it, I'll lend a hand the next time, though it better be a trifle. Something like messing with a sect is more within my skill set, but you'll have to give me something for that. What? Juefan asked in glee. With this old coot's strength, having him owe me, it'll be like having a god on my side. The drunkard pondered. A painting I drew for her, and my greatest work. A shame it got lost with the decline of her clan. I even got the word out that I'd do anything to he who brought it to me. So many years have passed, yet not one word. I may never see it again. The drunkard just turned and was gone. Juefan started. Senior, what does the painting look like? My painting is quite famous. Lads of our nation. The drunkard's voice echoed back. Now, the familiarity of it all was nagging his brain to an annoying degree. Then it hit him like a ton of bricks. Lads of our nation? That means he's Western Land's strongest man, Dan Shun. The girls jerked. We also heard of this legend. He's still alive after 1,000 years? Where's the painting? Doesn't Tianyu have it somewhere? Juefan turned to Yongning. This was the chance to get a peak expert at his beck and call. Yongning started. Then her face fell. When you went to the imperial capital last time, after third brother's coronation, the painting was gone. He wanted to use it as a betrothal gift for Long Kuei, but it hasn't been found anywhere in the treasury. Damn that pile of blubber. He screws up right when it matters. Juefan sighed. That time the painting was there, but not the person. Now that he found the owner, the painting was missing. Though they lost the chance to get Dan Shun to owe them, so did Tianyu's imperial family. Knowing Fatty, he'd use it to get the empire back in his hands. The fate of the Luo clan is obvious. Juefan nodded. That's good, very good. In a heaven-reaching pavilion, two old men sat at the head of the room. One had white hair and sharp eyes, and the other had raven hair, a long beard, and a heavy complexion. Below them sat the ethereal stage expert from every sect. It's settled. Double Dragon Gathering will begin in 3 days. The same rule applies, starting with the lower 3 sections. You may withdraw. The White Elder said. The men bowed and left. Understood. Someone rushed inside. Something is wrong with the barrier. What? The White Elder asked. The man spoke restlessly. The doors have opened 9 times for every sect, yet there has been a 10th time. You may go, but be on guard. Yes, sir. The man saluted and left with the silence reinstated. The White Elder began. Only through special gestures and enough strength can one enter the barrier without a sound. Do you suppose he came? He's the only one in Western lands so familiar with Double Dragon Manor and so brazen to do it right under our noses. But why would he come now? I hope it's not to cause trouble. The black-haired elder closed his eyes. The white elder nodded and sighed. Our most prized pupil has returned. Why? Chapter 632, Advancement Galore. Chapter 632, Advancement Galore. In 3 days, Joafan faced the returned fiends with a hard face, then eyed every door the disciples were using. That's a little tight. Venerables, couldn't you stall for a bit? We're quite short on time. Fiend Yang bristled. You wanted us, 3 little guys, to change the mind of a room packed with worthies? Sure, you're tight on time now, but what the hell did you do a few days ago? We asked you to cure them, but you just wouldn't have it. It all comes down to luck again. Joafan turned a deaf ear to his complaints. Deflecting the issue, Fiend Yang was outraged. For crying out loud, Joafan, you're the leader of the demon-scheming sect, so start acting like one. What luck? Don't tell me you didn't plan for this. And what's the deal with those girls? Why are they still here? Is this how a leader acts? Fiend Yang rambled on, blustering, cursing. Joafan's only saving grace was that he wasn't being torn into right now with the 2 extra fiends around. Joafan shrugged and whistled a nameless tune, while his innards were cooking some master plan by his calculations. 3 days ought to get all the boys out, though who could vouch for it? Some might feel like dragging it out for half a month. Instead, Demon Scheming Sect was the only one having just come to Double Dragon Manor and got into advancing as a last-ditch effort. The other sects would be startled at the news. Dude, are your disciples chilling? Can't they feel the pressure? The fight is just around the corner, yet they're in the mood to advance. What friggin' use would it be now? Having poisoned the guys for months and walking like zombies. Joafan knew, for a fact, curing them now got them in the best mood. Here's the plan. You guys stall, but not for long since I'll go in alone. You alone will do shit. Fiend Yang sprayed his discontent. Is this a joke to you, a play? The fighting is set by drawing lots. With a member, must be fighting once. Are you going to draw 10 lots by yourself? Fiend Gue shook his head. While you're worth 10 men, the rules forbid you from fighting more than once. It all depends on all your rankings where our sect lies. That's why your strength hardly matters, while effective in group battles. Joafan raised an eyebrow. Double Dragon Gathering has so many rules. Want to be faster if everyone just ganged up? Ha! It's a thorough test of a sect's potential. Fiend Een forced a smile. He's sometimes the most cunning mastermind, and other times the simplest dolt. That leaves us with our hands tied. No choice but to leave it to fate. I'll leave you to fate. All right, just let me. Fiend Yang snapped. A good thing his fellow fiends were there to stop him from flattening Joafan, while Joafan was taking it way too easy. The Venerables were by themselves in worry, praying to the heavens above that their disciples would make it in time. Their pleas went unanswered for 3 days, emphasizing the despair. Well, sure, they could drag them out, but it would have the opposite effect, even lowering their progress knock. A most familiar sound came from outside, presenting a man in gray with a bow. Demon Scheming Sect, the Double Dragon Gathering is starting, yet we do not see you present. The elders sent me to get you. Fiend Yang's mouth twitched, sighing as Joafan, what now? Stall. Joafan spoke. Fiend Yang glared one last time like it ever helped. Ow, my tummy. You guys didn't wash it, and now I have indigestion. We are all cultivators, honored guests. We do not offer breakfast either. With your cultivation, such a case is impossible. Did you take some poison pill, perhaps? The man was unimpressed. The portly fiend blushed hard. Ha ha ha. Now that you mention it, I'm cured. Dumbass. Joafan and company. Unanimous reaction. Shall we go then? He led the way while watching them. I've seen my fair share of cowards, but you are a different breed entirely. Getting sick just before getting on stage? What did you come here for anyway? Crazy. Fiend Yang's face sank, glaring at Joafan behind him. Punk, today's humiliation is on you. We stalled for you, so you better get back our dignity. Or else is your head. Fiend Yang snorted after the two. What's your dignity got to do with me? I didn't tell you to show off. Joafan rolled his eyes, even as his brow never relaxed, seeing the doors close still behind. Just how high are the brats aiming? Hum. A powerful vibe came from a room, perking Joafan up. Chika Chan Long. Hum. followed closely by many more other rooms. Joy Fan grinned. They're coming out of their shell at last. Now fly my pretties, huh? The huge stage had seats all around it, all taken by dignitaries for this or that empire, all to bear witness to the sect's power. Yongning and Yunshuang were eagerly awaiting the ever-delayed coming of the demon-scheming sect. Mystical Heaven sect and beast-taming sect were present, waiting on the stage to draw lots. Before them was an elder with white hair. The judge exalted Double Dragon had no interest in the lower three sects. Sending an elder was already courtesy enough, it sure put a sad face on all those looking forward to seeing Western Land's strongest elder. The demon-scheming sect is here. A man in gray bowed before the elder. He left, but not without sending one disdainful look at the trio behind him. The elder frowned. Venerables, why do I see only you three? What are the disciples? Well, the trio looked at each other, lost. Fiend Yang chose to take the brunt of it. Elder, the disciples are delayed and will be here shortly. Talk about a disgrace. They're too scared to meet yours truly. A most arrogant and self-important voice declared. Hui Xiong. Of course he strutted in the center, overlooking his audience. Half a year ago, I wiped the floor with demon-scheming sex elites. Now they had no one to send and threw in their worst and weakest. Their leader is even a third-layer radiant stage child. Some damn elders from the secular world would have been way better. In my moment of weakness and generosity, I advised them against this, and I see now they had an epiphany to not come. Ha! They ran away. The ring was in a clamor. Did the demon-scheming sect get scared? How embarrassing, worse than losing. This never happened ever, not at Double Dragon Gathering. The judge frowned at Fiend Yang. The fiends had no way of explaining, just seething in anger. Hui Xiong, in his infinite arrogance, took it as a sign. He hit it right on the money, laughing at Mystical Heaven sect. The leader of the lower three sects will be decided between us now. Mystical Heaven sect's lasses rolled their eyes. They were sensible to not believe an idiot when they saw one, especially after Zhou Fan's display of power. Young Master Zhou scared? Who are you kidding? Does this guy think he can fight a superior three sects disciple as well? Hui Xiong flared his nostrils in anger. Who is that? Heads whipped around, only to be stunned. What were they doing here? Chapter 633, Rolling In. Chapter 633, Rolling In. To the shock of all present, three people, all bearing similar features, strolled in with an evil smile. None other than Demon Soul Sect's brothers. Glancing at the two teams on stage, eldest young Master Han frowned. Demon Scheming Sect isn't here yet. It doesn't look like it, brother. Should we wait for them? Third young Master Han spun his eyes around for that familiar and infuriating figure and proposed this. Once he didn't find him, eldest young Master gave a curt nod as he walked on stage. I was dying to see this freak that got you both so tense. Ha, brother. He'll make a great adversary. The other two chipped in while they were walking to the highest seat like they owned the place. The rest of the crowd was dumbfounded. What is Demon Soul Sect's best seed, Han Yinfeng, doing by coming to a meager scramble between the lower three sects? It can't be that someone caught his attention, right? No way. Demon Soul Sect is a middle three sect as strong as ever, and by no means could someone from the lower three sects contend. I reckon young Master Han alone can take on all of the lower three sections. That makes sense, but how do you explain his presence here? He got bored, so he went out for a stroll. What else is there? That's simple. The people were bustling with scenarios and thought about the situation. Why the trio just waltzed in and their purposes here, yet missed the target by a mile. They weren't the only ones taken aback. Even the judging elder frowned in suspicion. The sects had a clear hierarchy where strength meant everything. The superior three sects disdained the middle three sects, and the latter scorned the lower three sections. It had always been this way for the thousands of years the Double Dragon Gathering had been holding, yet this time, the Demon Soul Sect came on its own to watch the lower three sects fight. Why? Is Demon Soul Sect's strength on the lower side this time? And do they fear someone from the lower three sects is going to take their place, so they came to scout? The judge's frown deepened, and he eyed the trio's cultivation and shook his head in even more puzzlement. Nah, it can't be. At their level, they have no worry about their place being taken. That only leaves boredom. But are they really bored? All in all, the presence of such a mighty power at this meager stage gave the lower three sects a glorious honor. No matter how bored they get, these are the core of Demon Soul Sect's disciples. There's no way they'd lower themselves for others' benefit. The elder's skepticism was in full bloom to understand the crux of it all. Shui Ruohua and the other girls just glared at the trio. They gnashed their teeth, and flames sparked in their eyes at the sight of them when they fought for a spiritual herb. Shui Ruohua ended up with a heavy wound by that third young master's hand, which turned out to be a pain to heal. She wouldn't soon forget such a grudge, and the mystical heaven sex girls wouldn't either. Third young master Han picked up on the growing hate he garnered and snickered at the girls' powerless glares. He rolled his pinky around with a mocking smile. Bunch of broads not even worth hating. Shui Ruohua's face twisted in rage. Her fists bunched tight. Elder Yun spoke coldly. Ruohua, calm down. Our goal is the head of the lower three sects, not the middle three sections. Don't make a scene. Are you that confident? With some anger still obvious on the girls' faces, they cooled down somewhat. Watching the elders with an odd look, Elder Yun mentioned this 3 months ago. Yet you still have such high expectations? And where are you putting the demon scheming sect then? Recalling Zhua Fan's brutal power, Elder Yun coughed with red cheeks. Changing the subject, the second place isn't that bad either. Do your best. That was more like it, and everyone breathed easier. They feared the elder was going to sick them on the demon scheming sect. That would be plain suicide, giving their lives away for nothing. Ha ha ha. Good. So you do know your limits. You know the head of the lower three sects can only belong to the beast-taming sect. You are wise to back down and take second place. The incoming mockery caught their attention. They all frowned and saw the infinitely arrogant Hui Xiong. Snickering, they all wrote him off from their memory, yet Hui Xiong, in his infinite wisdom, saw it as a sign of weakness, balking under his awesome presence. His laughter grew even more outrageous. A wise man knows when to quit. There's no shame in knowing your place beneath me. No need to be so downcast. You still have that demon scheming sect filled with cripples under you. I am someone the demon soul sect's 3 young masters had their eye on. You caught their attention? Shui Ruohua eyed Hui Xiong skeptically. Like the fool he was, the judge's beard shook, sizing Hui Xiong up and down, then shaking his head. Beast-taming sect disciples have the right attitude, but perhaps too right. Oblivious to the weird looks he received, Hui Xiong puffed up his chest in pride. After my master and I challenged the demon scheming sect's elites and wiped the floor with them. On our way down, we stumbled upon second young Master Han. After hearing of my glorious feat, they had only respect for me, singing praises of me. My master bore witness as well. You can just ask him. Elder Lu grinned from ear to ear, nodding all the while. Even he believed that the demon soul sect's praises at that time were completely and utterly genuine. Second young Master Han stood up, his face twitching and lost for words. Is this pair of master-disciple dumb or dumber? Sure, one didn't always get the thick irony even if it was pointed out to them, but this was absurd. So much time passed, yet you still haven't figured it out? Is it the empty heads or utter ignorance at fault here? Sigh, such are the trappings of greatness. But to think my brilliant aura would be so blinding, for even the young masters of the demon soul sect to see me as their match, I am getting nervous. Hui Xiong gave a theatrical sigh, cupping his hands at the said figures in the stands. Young masters, rest easy. I know your thoughts perfectly. As the one you recognize the strongest, I will take the leading position of the lower 3 sects and defer to you, to show my undying respect for the grace you bestowed upon me. A clamor rose among the audience. They were all taken in by Hui Xiong's heroic display and recognition of other heroes as he addressed the high-placed young masters. He's but a peak radiant stage, yet he garnered the attention of the 3 young masters to the point they came to see him fight. We better keep an eye on this Hui Xiong. He might very well be a dark horse. Smiley face. Yes, his name literally means grizzly bear. The people gesticulated and pointed, with all eyes on this black bear. Han Yunfeng's face twitched, and he eyed second young master Han. Brother, where did you meet this moron? We barely exchanged a couple of words, yet he took them at face value. But what's even more ridiculous is his master believing them too. Humph, like master, like disciple. Getting used by these ignorant and oblivious morons leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Han Yunfeng grumbled. Second young master Han was getting angry as well. Should I go down and sort it out? Sort what out? The bigger he is, the harder he'll fall. He'll soon get the reward that is coming to him. Don't you worry. Han Yunfeng grinned. His brothers snickered. Whoosh! A flash of red spiked the temperature around the stage. A redhead youth towered before the crowd, just 100 meters from the Han brothers, his cold eyes staring at the stage. Hasn't that freak arrived yet? Superior 3 sect Hellion Flame's best seed, Yin Mo. Han Yunfeng watched the redhead with a shocked look. He wasn't the only one. Everyone here was stunned as he was such a heavy name and showed his presence here. What was going on here? First is the best seed from the middle 3 sects, and now it's the best disciple from the superior 3 sections. Do the lower 3 sects have some kind of inhumane being? Did the lower 3 sects have someone that could threaten the superior 3 sects disciples? This was too astonishing. Superior 3 sects and lower 3 sects were worlds apart, and the same applied to their disciples, yet Yin Mo came here. How would they explain that? Was he just as bored as the rest of them? Just how bored can you be coming to the Double Dragon gathering? Brother, what's this freak doing here? Second young master Han frowned. Han Yunfeng shook his head, just as curious. How should I know? There's no way he came by chance either. I just hope he didn't come to see the same guy we have our eyes on. That would be the pits. What? Third young master Han gasped. Han Yunfeng squinted. Can't you tell? For Yin Mo to be so serious in looking after his target, that man must be truly powerful. His brothers shuddered in shock. Chapter 634, Intense Attack. Chapter 634, Intense Attack. Yin Mo. Shui Ruohua's eyes were full of hate and rage. The memory was still fresh in her mind of how this demon toyed with her sisters to death. Shui Ruohua's eyes were bloodshot. Her junior sisters picked up on her distress and glared at Yin Mo with the same revulsion and disgust. Not that the redhead cared, having better things to do than mind nobodies, like searching for a certain deadly and familiar someone. Quiet down. This is the Double Dragon Manor. Elder Yin held her shoulder with a warning. We can't touch Yimo even if we want to. Hellion Flame has his back. Shui Ruohua's face sank, and she sighed. All her sisters' suffering and cruel treatment were now for nothing. She couldn't even avenge them. Her nails dug deep in her palms, enough to draw blood. She felt utterly helpless and futile. Even Hui Xiong was taken aback by Yin Mo's coming. Then he said in tears, Master, do you see? Yin Mo has come to see me. This attention is dangerous, but it proves your strength has reached the ears of Hellion Flame's first seed. I am proud to have you. Elder Lu was touched to the core. The crowd was reeling in unison and looked at the weird pair with scorn. There's got to be a limit to how self-absorbed one can be. How did they just jump to the conclusion Yin Mo came for them as well? Why the hell would a fifth-layer ethereal stage expert care about some nobody still in the radiant stage? Dude, rein in your narcissistic tendencies if you know what's good for you. The judge shook his head, ignoring how the self-important idiots got their unfounded confidence from. He was more interested to know what got a middle 3 sect and a superior 3 sect to come in a measly lower 3 sects fights. He scanned the 2 sects below, then looked over the roster and the respective levels, and the judge's suspicion grew. Not one among them is worth this much attention. Whatever, it'll all be made clear once it starts. The judge turned to them and shouted, We've waited long enough. Time to draw lots. Single battles will be fought in the form of tag teams. There are 3 numbers inside. The first and second will fight, while the third will fight the loser of the first fight and then the winner of the first match. These 3 rounds will determine your performance and evaluation. The judge's hands lit up, and presented a bamboo tube holding the three numbers mystical heaven sect and beast-taming sect's elders stepped forward to draw. The fiends, however, only watched the entrance, catching no shadow of Zhuo Fan and the rest, and their anxiety mounted. Elder, our people are running late. Could we maybe wait for a while longer? Rubbing his greasy palms, Fiend Yang Fan the judge stared back at him like a whitewashed wall, but without all the emotion. The time is up, and no one will wait for you. So hurry up and draw your lot. If you're lucky to draw third, you will have bought yourself the time. I understand, I do, but Fiend Yang scratched his cheek, looking lost at the elder while pacing around. The elder snapped. Draw now, or forfeit. I will. Sheesh, it's just a number. Fiend Yang's mouth sank, and he noticed his two pals were just as conflicted. So he moved in closer. Fiend Yang, make it damn good. You do it then. Fiend Yang barely took a step, and they shouted at him. Enraged, he glared back and gave a reply of his own. Fiend Yang shrugged, flicking his hand. Forget I said anything. With gloom seeping out of every pore, Fiend Yang dragged his feet to the judge under the snicker of the opponent's elders. His face sank and roared with all his fury, cursing Zhuo Fan's entire lineage. In his mind, that is, damn that wretched brat. What the hell is taking him so long? Now I'm the patsy. Venerable Yang, please. Elder Yun snickered as he made an exaggerated flourish for him to go first, with the kindest of intentions, of course. Elder Liu had a taunting look constantly plastered on his face. Fiend Yang's face twitched, and he glared at Elder Yun. If it weren't for us, this old coot would be dead. Now he's laughing it up at my expense. You haven't heard the last of me. Venting a bit on the inside to cool the towering fury, Fiend Yang set his jaw and stuffed his fat hand inside for the number. But the number was anything but reassuring, going by his tearful and devastated eyes. What's the number? Fiend Gue asked. Fiend Yang was greatly ashamed as he gave it to the others. Sorry, my luck's in the pits today. I picked number 1. Ah. The other fiends sighed. While the opponent's elders laughed at his misfortune, their disciples were still dragging their feet. Now that they had to go first, they'd be losing points. Talk about starting off on the wrong foot, watching the two gloat and enjoying others' pain. Fiend Yang could do nothing but bottle it up. The two coots were taking their sweet time, drawing their own numbers. With as much flair as possible, beast-taming sect was number 2, fighting demon-scheming sect, while mystical heaven sect was number 3. Woe is me. Here, I was going to showcase the full extent of my sect's prowess, but how could I when the demon-scheming sect falls short? I urged them not to come, and they actually listened. I'm sorry I'd have to take this easy win from you. I really am. Hui Xiong's arrogance knew no bounds, his head swelling with unfounded pride. The fiends were seething, their hearts flaming mad. Not like they could act on it. Not here at the Double Dragon gathering, with the demon-scheming sect's disciples failing to show on time. Why don't you fight us instead? Everyone set their eyes on Shui Ruohua, cupping their hands. Then she bowed at the judge, smiling. Fiend Yang thanked her. You're truly kind, girl. Elder, mystical heaven sect, is willing to take our place. Let them go first. Nonsense, when did we agree? Elder Yun's outraged shout echoed and bowed to the judge. Elder, my disciple, doesn't know what she's saying. Then he glared at Shui Ruohua. What are you standing around for? Get back. Shui Ruohua gave Fiend Yang an apologetic look and sighed. Going back to her sisters, she saw this as a good chance to pay back the favor of having the demon-scheming sect save them. But she knew the elder's intent even more. Zhuo Fan was far too strong, letting them have a round's handicap couldn't be better. But this in turn was immoral and unethical. It was burning bridges once one had got what he wanted. The girls felt for Shui Ruohua, finding Elder Yun's choice highly improper. Chu Qingsheng, the once leader of the Drifting Flowers edifices, had been through many scraps of all kinds. Senior sister, we are adversaries now, and there's no need to show mercy. Besides, this little hiccup will hardly stall him. The other started. Isn't Qingsheng on young Master Zhuo's side? Why is she not minding this? Did their love turn into hatred? None of them truly knew Zhuo Fan, not like Chu Qingsheng. She knew full well what he needed and what he had no desire for, just like now. He didn't need their help over such a trifle. Chu Qingsheng had a vague smile. Oh well, Yin, you call yourself a man and a righteous cultivator on top of that? You're worse than a child. Fiend Yang mocked him. Elder Yin deflected. There's nothing between our sections. You explain what happened clearly, that it was just running into each other. What's so wrong with both of us taking the same path? We owe you nothing. Now that we are rivals, it goes double. We don't have to do anything for you. Why you? Fiend Yang started with a red face. He hated mystical heaven's sex, cruel heart. He wouldn't have helped if he knew it then. They were better off dead at Yin Mo's hand. The others looked on curiously, unaware of what happened between them as the mastermind behind the troubles. Yin Mo knew too well, but even he couldn't take the clan's hypocrisy. Righteous sect, all right. Nothing but fake-ass and ungrateful pricks that even I feel sorry for the demon-scheming sect. They can't fight either because of this. It's truly a shame, especially that guy. Yin Mo rubbed his chin. The Han brothers eyed him, waiting for the guest of honor. Yongning and Schwanger were tense, their hearts in their throats. Are demon-scheming sect's disciples coming or not? If they aren't, this round will be forfeit. The judge declared. The fiends were getting nervous while beast-taming sex-eyed was puffing out their chests. Any more, and they'd pop. Then came a surreal aura of unimaginable power, making everyone gasp. It was soon followed by a very particular and well-known voice. Haha, my bad. Demon-scheming sect has arrived. Chapter 635, Gap. Chapter 635, Gap. At long last, all people, without fail, turned toward the entrance. The great Han brothers and Yin Mo were no exception. The fiends' eyes sparkled, thanking their ancestors, the gods above and below. They came at long friggin' last. Any later, and we'd have been forfeiting. Tap! Casual footsteps grew louder as they approached. Passing through the shadow of the entrance was Zhuo Fan's sinister grin out in all its glory, while Qi Changlong and the rest behind him looked mighty dark, their eyes chilling. They were wild animals on the prowl. The shocker was the energy they were oozing out, one stronger than the next. Yin Mo and the Han brothers widened their eyes. How is this possible? Besides Zhuo Fan and the third layer radiant stage, the others looked practically remade, their power surging with youth and boldness. Qi Changlong, Lu Xie, and Bai Lian, the top elites, were in the ethereal stage. At the third layer, Gui, who was in the second layer, Kuei Lang, and Yu Ling in the first layer. Taiying, Kuei Gang, and Yuer had taken a heaven-reaching pill before, and their results were subdued this time. That, however, did not stop them from reaching the sixth layer radiant stage from the second layer of demon-scheming sect. 10 disciples. 6 were in the ethereal stage, 3 in the sixth layer of radiant stage, and only 1 in the third layer, Zhuo Fan. He kept his nose down, letting every ethereal stage expert underestimate the freak buried deep within. Such a lineup was hardly present in the middle 3 sects, and more seen among the superior 3 sects. Yin Mo eyed the team with a sweaty brow. It's no longer one man that is the problem, but the whole team. Han Yinfeng was still reeling from the shock, glaring at his brothers. What the hell is this? Half of the demon-scheming sect's disciples are in the ethereal stage. What kind of testing did you even do back then? You couldn't even pick up this critical intelligence? The two were just as floored, stammering to come up with a proper answer. We don't know. Where the hell did they come from? Second young Master Han then noticed Qi Changlong and the rest. They wiped the floor with second young Master Han cried like he'd seen a ghost. Brother, just months ago, 3 of them were only in the 8th and 9th layer radiant stage. How the hell did they reach the 3rd layer of the ethereal stage then? This is impossible. You're telling me they weren't in the ethereal stage? Han Yinfeng stared at the trio, then at second young Master Han, finding it hard to believe, even for him. No way. Even you, brother, just now entered the ethereal stage with all our sect's resources. How could a low sect get so much on their hands in such a short time? Second young Master Han was mind-blown. Brother, how should I know? You can ask third brother. He'll tell you the same thing. It's them all right, but to see them advance so fast gives me the chills. Third young master, Han cried out, as well a black cloud loomed over their faces at the dark times ahead. Han Yunfeng squinted. We can't look down on the demon scheming sect any longer. They aren't just a threat to our position, but are fully capable of replacing us. Change of plans. We have to do all we can and not get last place in the middle three sects fights, and we can escape the demon scheming sects threat. The other two gave a heavy nod. Where's the one you guys mentioned? Is it among the 6 ethereal stage experts? Han Yunfeng asked. The two frowned and shook their heads. Third young master Han pointed at Zhuo Fan with fear in his eyes. Brother, it's that punk. Don't let his low cultivation fool you. He's a monster. I know. Han Yunfeng sized the team up. The ethereal stage experts are walking behind him, so his strength must be more than it seems. Anyone that takes his cultivation at face value will suffer for it. Han Yunfeng pondered. 6 ethereal stage experts and 1 monster. The demon scheming sect is becoming more and more of a mystery. We have to change our target. That's our best bet. Though I can't help but feel curious. Just what kind of godlike being could raise their cultivation so much and so fast? It's like a miracle. His brother sighed and nodded. Meanwhile, the fiend saw Zhuo Fan saunter in with a heroic swag in his step. They stood stunned as well, but happier than anything else. Zhuo Fan, took you long enough, Brad. You gave me such an astonishing surprise I could kiss you. Ah! Fiend Yang gesticulated while taking Zhuo Fan into a bear hug. Zhuo Fan flounced around in his grip, wanting nothing to do with this crazy ball of flubber glaring at him. Zhuo Fan spat. Shove it. I hate that kind of talk. Neither do I. I just let emotion take me. His glare didn't put Fiend Yang's joy off in the slightest, still grinning like a fool. Then he took in the disciples behind Zhuo Fan. But the more he looked, the giddier he became. He's the friggin' bomb, this kid. In just 6 months, the lowest form of improvement was advancing 4 layers while also getting many of them in the ethereal stage. Zhuo Fan is a damn miracle worker, if I ever saw one. Wu Yue made the best decision of his life, getting him into the sect. The other fiends bobbed their heads with beaming smiles, happy as their reunion was. There were 2 sects not in the least bit happy. Their hearts thumping in fright inside their chests. Elder Yun had seen what a brutal monster Zhuo Fan was and kept his guard up. But back then, he only had one to deal with, while now he had a whole team. This freak had turned the other demon scheming sect's disciples into carbon copies of him. In nature, at least, just as freaky. The girls gasped, lost for words. Weren't they the stiffies trudging along the way here? How are they so strong? Chu Qingsheng smiled. Told you so. Such a trifling matter has no hold on him. We have to see them as adversaries from the start. Qingsheng, how are you so calm? Most are in the ethereal stage expert. Shui Ruohua looked crestfallen, having lost all hope in this tournament. With demon scheming sect strength, one forfeited round hardly affected them. Then she raised her eyebrows. Wait, did you just say they are all changed because of Sir Zhuo? How did he pull it off? Aha, I'm no seer. But what I do know is that he is a miracle worker. Chu Qingqing's gaze on him was filled with tenderness. The girls were even more astonished. Sir Zhuo isn't just strong, but capable of incredible things. The very definition of a monster. All the girls watched Zhuo Fan as a cow looked at a new gate, and Xian Xiaoyu hated him for it with a burning passion. The judge was shuffling through the roster in anxiety. What's demon scheming sect playing at? They were all on the Radiant stage when they came, so how come 6 of them skipped a stage? How the hell is it they got so strong in just 3 days? This increase is suspicious. Did they get outside help? Racking his brains all he could, the judge's withered hand stopped. Then he recalled the elders of the guard saying something that the demon scheming sect got filthy rich, using zombie pills on their disciples. All the pieces fit together, and the judge muttered to himself, there's a real expert here that knows this rare training method to raise the disciples' strength so fast. Even the Double Dragon Manor only heard of it, but never put it into practice. Yet for this guy to pull it off like nothing showed how brilliant he was. The judge sighed. The Double Dragon Gathering is going to flip again. Demon Scheming Sect is going places. Ha ha ha. Demon Scheming Sect and Beast Taming Sect begin the fight. Please present your disciples for this round. The judge's voice boomed when he looked at Hui Xiong. He saw the muscle-bound guy shaking from every fiber and whiter than milk, if possible. Chapter 636, Tactics. Chapter 636, Tactics. Against 6 mighty figures in the ethereal stage experts, their auras slamming into Hui Xiong one after the other. All he could do was shake like a leaf, turning a pale and whiny face to his master, squeaking, "Master, they're faking." Just 3 days ago, they were cripples, and now they're monsters. They have to have pulled something. But what did they do? Elder Lu was just as stunned, feeling remorse for his imminent fate. What did they eat to get so big? How the hell can one change so much in just 3 days? And so many too. Hui Xiong hesitated, his eyes darting to and fro. "Master, the first round is lost. Should we just forfeit? We'll just focus on Mystical Heaven Sect. There's just no way we can beat these freaks." "Bullshit," Elder Lu snapped. "Do you have any idea why Double Dragon Gathering uses evaluation as a way to judge our ranks? For this precise situation, when someone uses a dirty trick to play against another sect. The result of every round's evaluation will be added together to determine our final places. By forfeiting a round, we get nothing." Hui Xiong put on a painful face. "But Master, fighting them is the same as getting nothing either way. Just look at them. I'm starting to think Xie Wuyue played us. He gave us his weakest disciples to fight, while these are the true elites." Elder Lu's face twitched in anger. It never occurred to him this was possible since Xie Wuyue was damn sect's ruler. Yet instead of acting like one, he used petty tricks. Using weaklings instead. Won't it make him look like a fool among the other sects? But now, when it mattered the most, he had no time to mind trifles. Turning to Hui Xiong, "Don't worry too much. The fighting is done by drawing lots. They have 6 in the ethereal stage, but 4 much weaker ones. All we can do now is pray for luck." "Master, that makes quite the sense." Eyeing the 10 people, Hui Xiong nodded, and his gaze landed on Zhuo Fan. "Master, that kid is only in the 3rd layer. Getting him couldn't be better." Elder Lu sneered at Zhuo Fan, then knocked his head. "Damn coward. There are 4 in the Radiant stage over there, and you picked the weakest? Please, you're at peak Radiant stage, so act like one. Can't you go for those in the 6th layer and leave the weakling to your juniors? We would at least get the most out of this round. All you ever care about is yourself." "Master, it's all up to luck. I'll fight who happens to be my opponent. Not everything will just go as you wish." Holding his head, Hui Xiong replied. Elder Lu nodded. "He's right, though." Then glared again. "I'm angry at you for your cowardly nature, not your wishes. The strong must challenge the strong with a brave heart. That's the only way to become stronger. Picking on the weak all the time is boring, not to mention pointless." Hui Xiong scratched his head and nodded. "May the team step forth to draw your lots. There are 2 boxes with 10 numbers. Identical numbers on each team will be fighting each other, while the order of the fights will be that of the numbers." In 2 short light shows, the judge's hands now held 2 boxes. Zhuo Fan came first, sticking his hand in like he was picking apples in the market, and gave the number to the judge. The judge nodded. "Demon scheming sex leader, Zhuo Fan, has picked 10. "Ah, 10. Wonder who's the poor sap going to fight that freak." Yinmo snickered. Hi. Senior brother Yinmo, how is it you never felt like watching your fellow disciples in the elite area fight back at the sect, yet you're now so excited that you came to watch the lower 3 sects rounds?" Whoosh! A curvy and enticing woman popped on his side, bearing the most intoxicating smile. "Oh, you may." Glancing sideways, Yinmo sighed. "The lower 3 sects are truly the scrape of the barrel. But I'm not here for them." Yinmo's eyes flashed like a ravenous wolf on a particular man. "There's one person down there worthy to be my adversary." Started, Yu Mei shuddered at Yinmo's savage look. She always knew him as a player, toying around and doing whatever he wanted. If there was one thing he ever cared about in truth, that was the fight with Wu Qingqiu. Yet, by the looks of him now, he was putting this man way above even Wu Qingqiu. There's someone among them that senior brother recognizes? Her eyes washed over the crowd until she stopped on the bourgeois fan and cried. Third layer radiant stage? Yes, third layer radiant stage. Yin Mo nodded, gnashing his teeth in hatred. This rotten liar is anything but his cultivation shows. He's more like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Last time he almost. Yin Mo raved, then held his tongue. Realizing Yume was there, Yume was damn curious now. Last time, nothing. It doesn't concern you. Yin Mo flushed in embarrassment. Not feeling like sharing his shame, was he going to shout to the world a third layer radiant stage? Almost did him in? Hardly. He had a reputation to maintain, though his tight lip only got Yume more intrigued. Her smile creepily lingered on Juefan. Who is he to make senior brother so angry? Number 10. On stage, Hui Xiong got his number and shouted in joy. Then he gave Juefan a snicker the judge, and everyone else had looks of scorn. Elder Lu blushed. How the hell did I get such a coward for a disciple? I told you already, there's nothing glorious about beating a third layer radiant stage at peak radiant stage. The more excited he got, the more it proved how weak he was and, in equal measure, ruined his master's image, while Juefan had a simple and boring reaction to this fool's ignorant mockery. Dumbass. Sigh. Stupidity sure is terminal. What's there to laugh at having such a freak fighting him? Third young Master Han, sighed Han Yunfeng, scratched his nose. This is great. With Hui Xiong, the strongest among the beast-taming sect, we can now catch hints of what this monster's capable of. The two nodded. I didn't know the lower three sects had an underdog. Their team is made to face the superior three sections. While a fall of a superior three sect is unlikely, we'll at least get to see a middle three sect kick down a notch. Yume's honeyed voice floated, watching the demon scheming sect in admiration. For that muscle guy from beast-taming sect to get the weakest for an adversary is a real stroke of luck. Yin Mo's ears twitched, his smile cold. More like a stroke of rotten luck. He's dead. Yume raised a dainty eyebrow. There are 6 layers between them, yet the kid can still squeeze a win. More like insta-kill than a squeeze. Yin Mo's only reply was a roll of his eyes, but Yume only grew more interested, her dewy eyes never leaving Juefan. On demon scheming sect stand, Fiend Yang was looking chipper than ever, his face filled with pride, his smile wider than ever. Brothers and sisters, I am proud to see you bursting with energy, filled with valor and courage. With you here, challenging the middle 3 sects is nothing. Skip it. Juefan cut his swag short. Fiend Yang deflated a bit, but shook it off with a wave. I was going to praise you guys some more, but since Stewardge was said no, I will get to the point. I want you all to hold back against the beast-taming sect. Sending them flying is within reason, but don't bruise them. Why? Lucia asked. Just look at that damn Hui Xiong strutting his hot air around. We're dying to give him his due. Yet now you want us to take it easy? Fiend Yang waved his complaint away, then he turned serious. That's called tactics, do you understand? The Double Dragon Gathering is based on evaluations. If we wound them, their next opponent will be the Mystical Heaven sect. It will be the same as helping Mystical Heaven sect. You should feel more disgusted with those so-called hypocritical and ungrateful righteous liars than with some ignorant fools. The kid's eyes lit up, showing a nasty grin. And you, enough of your fraternizing with, or you'll harm our position. You are up against their strongest, so make damn sure you leave him in one piece. And don't cripple him either. You'll only be helping Mystical Heaven sect. Fiend Yang rested a heavy gaze on Juefan. Juefan merely shook his hand. Lighten up, I know what I'm doing. Besides, with her strength, even fighting Hui Xiong won't be a problem. Chapter 637. Fall of Integrity. Chapter 637. Fall of Integrity. With a ripple as the only sign, for walls rose up around the stage. Trapping everything within, the barrier is set. Take your places. The judge made a sign, turning from demon scheming sect to beast taming sect to get started, bearing a cold smile. Chi Chong Long, with his highest cultivation, strutted in the middle. He unleashed the full power of a third layer ethereal stage, flexing his majestic strength once inside the barrier. his aura got cut off, and the audience could finally breathe again. Though the same could be said about the shock, still reeling from the deadly pressure on their chest, beast-taming sex side was scared witless. Shaking to the core, the one holding the number 1 token, in particular the guy's hand, were quaking. And seeing Chi Changlong's cold sneer on the stage had him close to tears while not weak by any means by being in the 7th layer radiant stage. One couldn't say the same for his luck or lack thereof. Faced with insurmountable adversity, he felt like a lamb to the slaughter. I'm going to get myself killed. He whipped his panicked and wheedling face to Elder Lu. Elder, my loss is certain. Can I just forfeit? Do you have any clue what Double Dragon Gathering's rules are? Elder Lu snorted. A win is counted as 2 points, a draw as 1, and a loss as 0. While forfeiting humph, -2. You not getting up there is ruining us. The guy's face sank. Double Dragon Gathering won't even let us forfeit? They just want us all to die. How the hell would you know what's on their mind? Elder Lu sneered. Even knowing the risks, you still have to take them. The Double Dragon Gathering set up this system to see how dedicated the disciples are to their sects if they're willing to give their lives for it. If a sect ends up with a negative score, it doesn't necessarily show its strength, but it shows its cohesion, destined to be the runt of the lower 3 sections. So for the sake of the sect, you will get up there even if you were facing a peak elder stage. That's easy for you to say. You're not the one going. All that complaining didn't help him at all, forcing him to drag his feet up there. Not going would end up with a fate worse than death. While at least he'd get a quick death up there in the ring, Hui Xiong had a mocking smile like always, just loving it when others were in pain. Didn't you always try to take my place as the best in our sect? This is your chance to earn a name. Unlike my battle with that weak guy, not getting any honor, ha ha ha. His teammate glared back in hatred. This bastard would mock and kick anyone. Then he turned to Zhua Fan on the enemy's side in envy. Just a 3rd layer radiant stage. Practically an easy wing for most of the guys in Double Dragon Gathering. Such damn luck he had. Did Hui Xiong save the world in his past life, or something? Filled with bitter jealousy, the guy walked into the ring. Faced with Chi Changlong's cold smile, reality came crashing down on him. There goes my poor little life. Standing there, all shivering, Chi Changlong only had a sneer on his face. Begin. The judge gave the go-ahead. The guy lowered his head and held his hand in prayer. His forehead touched the ground again and again. In the hope to gain some pity, Chi Changlong cracked up. The entire demon scheming sex team did so. In fact, no matter how weak you are, you don't even have the guts to face your enemy. Elder Lu's face twitched, while the beast-taming sex team was ashamed. Senior brother, you're making us look like worms. Can't you die with dignity? Chi Changlong grinned wider, mocking. You have good eyes to recognize greatness. In light of your exceptional decision, I shall let you go. Now scram. Whoosh. A flick of his wrist sent a gale so strong the guy was sent crashing out of the ring. It took a good minute to calm down and touch himself all over for wounds, only to find nothing hurting. He was alive and well. First fight goes to the demon scheming sect, the judge declared, feeling bored of the huge gap between the sections. This had never happened in the history of Double Dragon Gathering. They were both sects in the same grade, yet worlds apart. The demon scheming sect was a freak. The guy looked up at Chi Changlong on stage and broke out in an unbridled smile, thanking and bowing over and over. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was without a doubt a most demeaning and vile sight. He earned the disgust of everyone with his servile attitude. And Elder Lu practically burned from rage. He got to get out alive, but without any shred of decency either. Funny enough, the disciples of the beast-taming sect were bright-eyed. So that's how I keep my life. It's worth a shot. Since we can't win anyway, we might as well come out alive. Ignoring the ingratiating disciple, Chi Changlong returned to his team with a wide smile. It was all part of their master plan to keep them nice and healthy. All that pleading and wheedling had no effect whatsoever. But this example gave the wrong impression to the rest that their very lives hung on how much of a Toadai they were. Thus, second fight, fighters on stage. The judge announced Yuling stood up and walked up the stage. Beast-taming sect's second adversary was shaking all over while taking slow and painful steps forward. Raise your head and don't you goddamn dare to do the same thing the other did. Be a man and die with dignity. Hui Xiong waved his fists and roared with might at his fellow disciple, only to give the first one a look of scorn. And you are a failure, a disappointment. You just ruined the name of our sect. Yet you have the nerve to come back? The rest gave Hui Xiong a glare of anger. Big talk for someone who is fighting a damn weakling. You have no damn thing to worry about, while we have to face the strongest they have. If you're that brave, why don't you take them on for size? We'll see who's begging, ignoring them, or maybe downright oblivious to the stares of hatred. Hui Xiong's twisted smile never faltered and his self-righteous air never slacked. He was the picture of superiority standing on his skewed moral high ground. He was the bastion of beast-taming sex dignity, bearing its flag with honor and heroism as the dogs surrounding him did all they could to cut him down. His fellow disciples feared his strength and couldn't do anything but seethe in anger. Meanwhile, beast-taming sex second participant, in the 6th layer radiant stage, walked on stage. Facing Yuling, who was in the ethereal stage, he broke out in a sweat without so much as a sign or hint. The guy felt his knees before her, showering her in pleadings. Even worse than the other guy, laughter had broken out the minute he was on his knees, laughing so hard in tears of joy. This is no competition, but beast-taming sect proclaiming its veneration for demon-scheming sect. The sect had lost all its dignity. Elder Lu was boiling mad. It wasn't just shaming the sect this time, but its legacy and all the respected leaders it had. We're all from the lower 3 sects, but you dare renounce your sect's name without remorse. You're not worthy to be a disciple of beast-taming sect no more. Who the hell cared? Certainly not them. Not when their lives were on the line. All beast-taming sect's disciples watched the worship being played out on stage with total focus and apprehension. Their dear senior brother was coming back home. Alive this time, the disciples begging was a notch above. If that worked, then demon-scheming sect was going to let them all go by doing the same. The most aware of their surroundings was none other than these disciples. They had to know how to beg when their lives were at stake. Squinting, Yuling sneered, "Good, very good. I just love to see a man knowing his place. Now beat it." In the same way, Yuling sent the guy flying with a swish and flick. Not too hard, though, needing a softer touch to leave him unharmed. The guy got back to his feet from the ground outside the stage and burst into joy, feeling like he had just escaped the jaws of death. Beast-taming sex disciples lit up, just as excited, laughing with him. If one didn't know better, they'd think they just won. The scene was too damn bizarre for the audience to take in, though only for a moment, as they got to laughing soon after. Beast-taming sex aim is so low this time. Coming out alive is already a victory. Elder Lu's eyes rolled back in his head from anger. Not just Hui Xiong. Every damn disciple is worthless. In this manner, demon-scheming sect and beast-taming sect fought glorious battles. Beast-taming sect disciples slammed their heads on the flow without any exception, all wishing nothing more than to come out alive. Demon-scheming sect side was really enjoying being in the center of it, holding their heads high like good Samaritans giving alms to the needy, or a flick to be more precise, one that promised a long-lasting life, followed soon after by endless thanks from the saved. The constant disgraceful behavior his dear disciples had taken to with such fervor fueled Elder Lu's anger with more and more rage, evident by his bloodshot eyes. He wasn't far from popping a vein or two while Elder Yin was beginning to see signs of something amiss. Sure, he mocked them just like the next guy, but as he watched the demon-scheming sect closer, he exclaimed, "This is demon-scheming sect's plan." Chapter 638, On Stage. Chapter 638, On Stage. "What's wrong, Elder?" Shuai asked. Elder Yun's brow was locked in a tight frown, glaring at the demon-scheming sect. "Good for you, Fiend Yang, you had me fooled. It only worked to get the others more confused. Don't tell me you don't see it." Demon-scheming sect and beast-taming sect's fights ended with no wounded. Elder Yun sighed. Shuai looked at the rest and laughed. at their disparity, it's only natural. Yes, the gap is abyssal, leading the round with ease. Such a case hasn't ever happened in Double Dragon Gathering, since everyone would fight to their dying breath, all to make their sect proud and earn more resources. Not one sect could ultimately control the situation because of this. Elder Yin squinted. It was this that blinded me to Demon's scheming sect scheme. Shui Rohua asked, puzzled. Elder, what do you mean by their scheme? You really can't see it? Demon scheming sect has rigged the fights. Elder Yun spat. They let every beast-taming sect's disciple leave unharmed to keep their strength, to face us at full power. What? Shui Rohua looked over the ring closer. But beast-taming sect disciples are all begging for their lives, and that is why they come unharmed. There's no reason to shed blood for nothing. Ruohua, that's one of our rules. Demonic cultivators don't have it. Those crazy bastards are both degenerates and twisted. One of them feeling pity, I can understand, but all of them? They planned this from the start, and all for us. Elder Yun huffed. Damn those rotten demonic cultivators. They want us to end up last in the rankings. The girls' faces turned. Heavy Xian Xiaoyu dressed his voice to get attention, cursing. No demonic cultivators are ever trustworthy, filled with schemes and debased. Senior brother, you're wrong. They're just using the rules to control the situation. How are they degenerates? And don't we owe them? We just kicked them when they were down, so now they want revenge. It has nothing to do with the path we each take. The sudden voice had everyone start and turn to Chu Qingsheng. They have brought this on themselves. So, of course, the demon scheming sect would get back at them if it were them instead. They do it all the same with anger laced heavier on Xian Xiaoyu's face. He said, Junior sister, why do you always have to take those demonic cultivators' side? Is it because of him? That's only half. Chu Qingsheng smiled. He is an old friend, and no matter when or where I'd stand by his side every time. Leaving that aside, the situation calls for using every trick in the book, so long as we're playing by the rules. We are after all adversaries here. Try to look superior by accusing the other's morality when you have fallen into a disadvantage is the weak's way out. And I, for one, despise such people. Their blood ran cold, and everyone considered Chu Qingqing's words to find them true. Xian Xiaoyu was outraged. Junior sister, then does that mean you'll stop thinking about him if he stoops so low? He will never do such a thing. Chu Qingsheng smiled, her gaze firm, sinking into her memories. None of you know him. In a pill competition, he had the speed to finish much sooner. Yet despite the superior advantage, he resorted to petty tricks to keep his adversary back. He forced his opponent to use blood essence just to qualify. And right then, someone spoke up that he was 1 second faster in finishing, yet had a much poorer quality, so he should have the spot instead. Tell me, which do you think it's right? The girls were deep in thought. Then Danner voiced, though he had a better pill, even if they were to draw, he'd still come last. Aha! Everyone thought so as well. Only he stood up for his adversary. Speed was of the essence in a competition, but here, quality took precedence. Is he a fool? Didn't you just say he wanted to get the other to lose? Why would he use this chance and help him instead? Danner blinked her purty eyes in doubt. Chu Qingsheng explained with a smile. That's just how he is, admitting his defeats and being generous with his wins. He is evil, but with style. I also thought of it as a good chance wasted, but thinking back, he did the right thing. He would do anything to reach his goal, but within principle. I knew then, and there it didn't matter if he was good or bad, because he was a true man. The hearts of the girls quivered. Watching Zhuo Fan with a dreamy look, young master Zhuo looks so sloppy, but has such a great character. Xian Xiaoyu was close to blowing a gasket. Chu Qingsheng was humiliating him. Zhuo Fan is a real man, so that means I'm not. Being told by the woman he loved he wasn't a man was the heaviest blow one could take. Sister Qingsheng, did he win? Danner blinked her doe eyes, eager to know the end of the tale. Like the rest of the girls, Chu Qingsheng smiled. Of course. What of the adversary? Did he die? Ha ha ha. You might not believe it even if I tell you. I thought he did kill him as well, only to later find out when I came to the sect that his adversary was on his side now, both of them in cahoots. For real? The girls were stunned. Weren't they enemies? Chu Ching Chang said, righteous cultivators say that heroes know other heroes. So why can't two devious demonic cultivators gang up? Besides, they're both top alchemists. Ching Chang, righteous and demonic are clearly defined. You'd best remember that. Elder Yin had enough of this and interfered. Afraid she would steer the girls along the wrong path, Chu Ching Chang shrugged while the girls sighed annoyed, but now they saw Zhuo Fan with different and much deeper eyes just out of earshot, where the boring round was ongoing between the two sects. All fights, if one could call them that, ended the same way. Demon Scheming Sect's side stood on stage with pride and dignity, while Beast Taming Sect's disciples pleaded every time, in hope of receiving the same saving flick. Their brothers got what started off as mockery. The crowd grew bored as well, taking to yawning as a much better alternative than wasting their contempt on something worthless. The insurmountable distance between the sects had turned the competition into a ceremony of respect to their Lord Savior. Only Kuwait, Gang, and Yor, still in the Radiant stage, had to work a bit to get their win, though just a couple of moves. The extra wide meridians did wonders to bridge cultivation gaps until it came to a head. The fight between Zhuo Fan and Hui Xiong, bunch of good-for-nothing cowards. Let me show you how it's done, how you fight for the beast-taming sect. Hui Xiong roared, mocking his fellow disciples as he went on stage like a mighty and unbeatable general. He walked on with his head held higher than ever thought possible. Elder Lu was already numb from the humiliation each round inflicted. But now seeing Hui Xiong on stage, his hope rekindled. The name of beast-taming sect rests solely on your shoulders. Make sure to make him suffer. Haha, of course, master. Leave it to me. I'm not like those sniveling fools. I will bring back all the glory. Haha roared with laughter. The other disciples' faces fell, giving him despising grins. What does winning against such a weak opponent give you? Pride? Any one of us would have been just as bold in your stead. Zhuo Fan got up and walked on stage. With the same calm expression as always, Fiend Yang shouted in worry. Zhuo Fan, hold back, you hear? Don't hurt him. Yeah, I know. What's the fuss about rigging a match? Zhuo Fan mocked and waved him off. Fiend Yang felt not in the least reassured. In fact, his worries mounted. Gue, who advised, Venerable, Steward Zhuo has the sharpest mind among us. If I could learn to hold back, he is sure to be a master at it. What do you know? Your cases are different. Fiend Yang sighed. Showing off your ethereal stage expert vibes got your opponent running scared and begging for mercy. Of course you went easy, but look at Hui Xiong and that grin. He is like he wants to play. So you tell me, can you hold it in? Thinking about it, no, he probably couldn't. Hui Xiong was begging to be trashed, plastered, and broken into tiny little pieces, and the on and off taunts weren't helping his case. He was looking at Zhuo Fan like he was the king of the world. Who wouldn't be pissed off at that? No way. Everyone shook their heads. Gue, who gnashed his teeth. This guy just doesn't know when to quit his bragging. If it were me up there, I wouldn't kill him. I'd cripple every bone in his body. That's what I've been saying. I can only hope Zhuo Fan's patience runs deeper than the earth. If the guy dies, our plan's effect is cut in half. Fiend Yang was praying now, hoping for a miracle, the miracle of patience. Chapter 639. Lose Control. Chapter 639. Lose Control. On stage at last, Zhuo Fan's appearance earned some sharp glares. Not just Yin and Mo and the Han brothers were watching his every move, but there was another one in the shadows, right by the entrance, watching with the most intense gaze. Yongning and Schwanger were giddy that the star of the show, by their account, was here. They both had nothing but tender looks for him. Ha! Punk, your sect has humiliated us so far, and now yours truly will take it all out on you. It's all your rotten luck to blame for getting the same number. Hui Xiong was getting more annoying and brash by the second in his taunts. Yin Mo's side was right to mock him. Dumbass. Fiend Yang's side remained silent, all chanting a silent prayer that Zhuo Fan would turn the other cheek. Luck had it. Zhuo Fan's mind and heart had shown tremendous growth since he came to the sect. No matter how much Hui Xiong blustered or taunted, Nothing could break Zhuofan's tranquility. Fiend Yang eased a breath. Then his heart thumped back into overdrive. Zhuofan frowned, sensing something was calling to him. He turned his head to the entrance, peering at the shadows, and his eyes shook. Hui Xiong paused, taken aback that his time to show off and insult his opponent was taken for clowning around with how his opponent never looked at him, and he grew more furious. Fine, you ignorant simp. A puny third-layer radiant stage dares to ignore me? You're asking for it. Hui Xiong roared. Punk, I'll give you 10 moves, free to do anything to me while I won't move a muscle. Hui Xiong's roaring entered the audience's ears only to earn their rolled eyes. A peak radiant stage showing off before one in the third layer? Why don't you pick an ethereal stage expert if you got the guts? Nothing more than a coward picking on the weak. Yin Mo's side sneered. What a moron. The instant that guy moved, you're done for. Yet nothing happened on stage. Zhuofan looked frozen, his eyes widening, staring with intent at the entrance of shadows. As for Hui Xiong's gutsy declaration, he heard nothing of it. Still standing there as his mind went out of commission, everyone was taken aback, even his sex side. Fiend Yang thinking, what's wrong with him? I did tell him to go easy on the guy, but not so much as to let him do what he wanted. Why isn't he moving? Hui Xiong had a grand epiphany, a miracle thinking of his thick skull housing that little brain of his. Ha ha ha! Ignorant fool, did I scare you? But don't think for a second this will change things. I will not go easy on you, since I'm a man of principle. Hui Xiong shone in a gray hue, and a huge bear image formed behind him. Its power ran rampant, its aura bearing down on the barrier so much that it turned gray. As well, everyone cried in shock, having come to a newfound realization of this narrow-minded Thugway, who was also amazed. Hui Xiong knew only to bluster all day, every day, yet at the end of it all, he wasn't beast-taming sect's top disciple for nothing. I was no less than Qi Changlong's previous level. Not like it would make a damn difference with Zhuofan around. If he had any other opponent in the Radiant stage, he would have some pretty good odds of winning. As for this case, not a snowball's chance in hell. Gui Hu and the disciples watched the one-man show with pity, knowing Zhuofan's true power. What a waste of good strength, thrown in the jaws of the beast. Whoosh! The gray bear behind Hui Xiong came at Zhuofan, enraged that even this wasn't enough to get him out of his stupor, and unleashed a mighty paw attack. Punk, you asked for it. Mid-profound, ranked martial art, descending bear paw. As the paw came crashing down, the tile under Zhuofan shattered, flinging rocks everywhere. The immense power sent howling winds within the barrier. Any average guy would turn into a meat patty under such a paw. Not Zhuofan, though. He merely raised an eyebrow, his fixed stare still on the entrance to unravel just what was giving him the strange feeling. He had no time nor care to mind what happened around him. The crowd gasped, worried for Zhuofan. Is he scared to death, frozen in place? Even the girls in the stands were worried. Fiend Yang's side was perplexed as to what brought this on. While some of the people around felt fear, others felt worried. What was universal, though, was doubt. Only Zhuofan stood stock still, his piercing gaze never budging. Two flickers of light shone in the shadows, and Zhuofan felt a danger like never before taking over his mind. Purple lightning exploded out of him. His red Qilin arm shone bright red in its glorious and awe-inspiring power, and his eyes flickered with azure flames. Zhuofan's 3 trump cards were out of his control, coming out like he was facing mortal danger. It was at this time the bear paw came crashing down. Zhuofan reacted purely on instinct, raising his fist and attacking boom. Scarlet flashed, purple lightning crackled, and the two powers combined into a devastating force coming right at Hui Xiong. Whoosh. In that instant, before Hui Xiong could even register what happened, he was gone, consumed by the billowing power of the Qilin arm and the savage purple lightning. There had not been time to even let out a cry. One might argue that he was so taken by the suddenness of it all he didn't know how he even died. And so passed Hui Xiong from this world. From oblivious to oblivion, the almighty power was far from finished, slamming into the barrier. It shook like a leaf under the purple lightning eating at it. The judge furrowed his brow and cried out, but even he did not have the time to reinforce it as it caved and shattered. As for the power of the punch, it exploded with lighting ever forward and right into beast taming sex disciples' boom. The jarring, thunderous sound came as the mighty aura went through them, through the walls, and lost in the horizon. The only sign of what had happened was the crackling of purple on the debris dust, and thick smoke rose, and once it passed, beast-taming sex team was erased from this world. Only a faint blue mote shook now and then, wailing in pain. What the hell is going on here? Elderloo, the judge shouted, looking at the smoldering ruins with shock. Beast-taming sect disciples are annihilated. Not even the elder's body survived, only his soul. SSS. The judge's gasp echoed with utmost clarity in the arena, making everyone stare lost. Then they came to, as they blinked at the center of the stage. The dust was fading now and revealed first the sharp eyes and a solemn face. His red arm pulsed, sending frightening power every time the people watched him in a daze, sweat trickling down their foreheads, their hearts screaming in unison. Monster! Even Yin Mo shook at the display. He knew now that this punk had not gone all out all back in that cave. Just a casual punch today was so powerful it not only pulverized Hui Xiong from existence, but took all the disciples and the elder of the beast-taming sect with him. It all happened so fast and so strong that even the judge was late to react. He had no idea Zhuo Fan was capable of unleashing such raw power, nor that it only came out because Zhuo Fan lost control. And the reason for it was the entrance's shadows. Zhuo Fan squinted at the two flickers in the shadows going away, and the rush of power calmed down. Yet his heart felt heavier. His fated enemy was here. This was the only explanation for his mightiest power to be unleashed without his control. But who was he? Zhuo Fan's frown deepened. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.